The following is a presentation of iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
Live tonight from the Talladega Superspeedway, LSRTV, happy to say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the Superspeedway Cup Series Season 15 Championship at LSRTV and iRacing Live, where for the first time we head to Lincoln, Alabama's Talladega Superspeedway as we did to get this championship underway into our fourth week of contest action. But as we welcome you topside into the LSRTV booth, Evan Pasoko, Rachel Whiteford upstairs with you. And downstairs is Cisco Scarbusa. Rachel, it is the first week in which we are not in the Sunshine State. 3 weeks, Daytona Speed Weeks have now come and gone, and we're officially underway in this championship. So tonight, although we have seen the time come into play in some of the races so far during Speed Weeks and On Points events, and we did see a stage appear in the 500 1 week ago, this here tonight is the format that is going to make up the bulk of the season as we head into race number 2 on the year.
Certainly is. You know what, Evan? I thought I was getting so comfortable in the commentary box up in Daytona, but you know what? This feels like home. This feels good. We're back in Talladega here, and this track has produced some of the best racing we've had in this series throughout its history. It's big, it's fast, it's wide. We're going to have some great racing tonight, and it's going to be a brilliant way to start off the regular season.
And just as this series always does, constantly evolving and following the rules of the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, stage racing going to be a factor here tonight, but also wins and playoff points. And those are a factor as we take a look for the first time this year at our championship standings. Now, we've only gone through one official full points race on the season. That was the 500 a week ago, but the duels the week prior were also 4 points. So that's how at the top of the pile, you do have Jason Altman with 110 total points. Biggest thing, and obviously we talked about this with him 1 week ago, is he's got that win, which means that after just the opening week of the season, he's in the playoffs. Don't have to worry about that for 4 months, but it's a good start for that team.
Certainly is. It's a lot of pressure off. You can go racing, you can have a lot of fun, and you can experiment with things, try new techniques, new strategies, see what happens for them. You know, it's perfect position to be in. Is he going to back off, though? Jason Altman's? No way.
If anything, I'd argue he's going to get a little bit more aggressive because he doesn't care if he wrecks the car as long as he can maintain a top 25 in the points position, which should be easily doable. I think he'll be hanging around up front for a lot of these. So you saw Altman's on our point standings showed up as a win because at a win, doesn't matter how many points you have as long as you're top 25, that puts you to the top of the chase grid. So into tonight, 2nd through 12th available in on points. That's going to change as the season goes on, but we're going to have a 12 driver playoff. So as different drivers wins, the amount of positions in on points is going to start to change, and I predict that window will end up with maybe about 4 or 5 positions in on points come the end of the regular season. There's really no way of knowing now, but you can't bank on having that many points paying positions. You got to win.
Very, very, very true. And, well, the points paying positions are something that's, you think is inconsequential now. You've got time, you've got a lot of season to play with, but suddenly those races will start running out, and you start realizing you're in a position where you have to try harder and you have to take risks that you don't want to take. So getting an early good result, trying harder at the start of the season, and relieving that pressure by having a win in the bag is a huge thing for these guys. They have to focus on that, and we've got such competition this season, Evan. Look at these guys: Rittenauer, Servant, Jorgensen Jr., Passini, Wofford, Flagg, Merchant. Any one of these guys could win every race. It's going to be tough to see what happens.
We've got drivers in this series that have been around for 4 or 5 seasons that have no wins, drivers who have 1 or 2 wins, and then drivers who have over 20 wins. So there are some drivers who have figured out the trick to this thing, but there's plenty of talent out there. Some other things that don't talking about the stage racing. This is a 100-minute race, not laps, minutes this season. You'll see the clock at the top of your screen that'll be counting down, but the end of stage number 1 is going to be at the completion of lap number 50. It may not necessarily be at the halfway point in this race. The pace on how quickly we get through those 100 minutes is going to be determined obviously by how many cautions we have, but at the end of lap 50, we will have the end of stage 1. The top 10 in the running order get some bonus points towards the overall championship. So with that, I think we're ready to get this new format underway. Let's go trackside for the first time this season from Talladega and take a look at our LSRTV starting grid for race number 2. Pole position going to go to the 87 of Ray Rittenauer II. It has had a pretty good start to the, start of this very young season. The driver of the 87, Racing Warehouse Chevrolet, pole position tonight with the 51.837. That was besting the 3 of Paul Servantout, who will start in P2 by just 3 1/1000ths of a second. Mark Jorgensen Jr. going to be back on road number 2. He's got the LSRTV colors on board the 88 Chevrolet this evening. Alongside him, Chris Piscini, the number 1, will roll from 4th position. Just behind him, old-time series winningest driver, Rodney Wofford, will start from 5th.
6th place tonight, Corey Henry, last season's champion, looking for another good season so far. Series organizer Rod Flag in 7th place. Sefton Merchant back there in the 57, a strong contender as always. Newcomer Harry Tiller in 9th and Scott Warren in 10th.
Alex Hallinar going to roll from the number 11 position. He was the top 10 car in practice. So was Gary Champion, who will start in 12th. Those 2 drivers make up row number 6. Brandon Chaburko, the number 22, he gets the honor of starting in the unlucky number 13 starting spot tonight. Victor Bartlett, a series veteran, behind the wheel of the mellow yellow Chevrolet. That 42 machine will start from 14th position. Just behind them, the Ford Fusion of Ramon Evans is 15th.
Chevy SS of Justin Levine in 16th place with Spencer Prato in the 17th spot. Dan Harrington in the 18th position. Travis Brown and Dwayne Cooper rounds out your top 20.
Final couple of cars to take times in qualifying. 21st for Jared Haggerty with Sean McCarrick in 22nd. The fastest driver in practice cannot replicate that time to qualifying. Daniel Holloway way back in a number 23 spot, alongside with Tommy Hall, who will start from 24th, and Mr. Andy Kessler is 25th.
Our last qualifier with around 1 minute on the clock there in qualifying is Brandon Cruz Monster Vice. Behind them, the non-qualifiers, I'll run you through those. Tom Dreiling, Nathan Davies, Dinner Osborne, Glenn Hedrick in 30th with Jimmy Coleman, Larry Camp and Mike Thiel rolling off in 33rd. That's our grid, Evan.
Look top to bottom at our LSRTV starting grid, so let's talk about Dega. Haven't been here yet this season, although if you join us every Friday night, as we so hope you do, and if you're just tuned in for the first time tonight, stick around. This championship is going to be long and exciting, but we go back and forth between Daytona and Talladega all the way through this nearly 20-race calendar. Dega is the bigger of the 2 tracks, 2.666 miles in length, banking about 4 stories tall, clocking in at 33 degrees, but the biggest difference is, well, there's 2 of them to be fair. 1, the location of the start-finish line, not centered in the tri-oval like it is at Daytona and basically every other oval track at the iRacing oval side of things. And 2, this track is a lot wider. 3 wide, much more feasible. If you're really feeling brave, you could even try 4 wide.
4 wide's plenty of room, surprisingly. You can fit 3 wide in the bottom 2 lanes here at Talladega. Lanes really make multi-groove racing very easy, Evan, because you've got such a good indicator of position. Yeah, you can get 3 wide in the bottom 2 lanes. You can fit a 4th up top. It's very easy. 5 wide is where it starts to get tricky.
Just a word of advice, let's hope that they save that for a little bit later on down as we get set to get the first race from Talladega underway this season. As we always are, we're happy that you're spending your Friday evening with us on LSR TV at iRacing Live. The pace car goes to the inside. And the field is going to be in the hands of the 87. Ray Rittenauer the second. American Ethanol green flag as we are underway. Race number 2 on season 15. How about a drag race to the start-finish line? Outside line is there. The struggle on the outside of the racetrack is getting up to speed off of these restarts. They look good, tightly packed together through 1 and 2.
That's a huge run by the outside line and a good start to the season for Savant, Passini there, Corey Henry and Seth DeMerchant getting a huge run. In fact, the outside line actually took the lead here off the start, which is practically unheard of ever. In fact, 2-3 cars will clear by before they head into turn number 3. Well, it'll be 2 cars at least, the 1 and the 3. They'll probably drop down here. Passini's going to stay high for now. In fact, he'll stay high for his friend, the 12 car, and hold him up there, but Servant will drop down and control the bottom lane. Let's look at the run Passini gets. This outside line is breathtakingly fast.
Yeah, they're going to have 3 drivers, maybe even 4 by the time they come across the line. It will be 4. Your pole sitter after lap number 1 was down in 4th position. I thought DeMerchant might have been able to get him on the outside, yet bright red 57 Chevy technically did not get in front of him. So 3 drivers for the outside lane, 2nd, 4th, and 6th on the restart. Go to 1, 2, and 3, and Passini in the number 1 machine now going to come down in front of Servant. Servant made the move to the inside. Passini stayed out a little bit longer. Corey Henry gave him the push to the race lead. So the number 1 Chevrolet finding himself to P1 early on in this one. But characteristically, rather uncharacteristically, and again, no offense to the guys at the top, but an unconventionally exceptional restart for them. Typically, they'll fall back 3 car lengths, not pick up 3.
Yeah, gotta say, the second place starter, Paul Savant, was on the button with that start, Evan. He got one of the best starts I've seen. It must be some improvement in his setup, perhaps, for him, because he was launching. The second that our Paul Sitter Ribbit now went for it, he was just on it. And the outside line's really falling apart now. It's just Henry and DeMerchant there on the outside. The rest of your field pretty much single file the whole way back. We've got a group broken off the rear. That includes Mike Thiel. Involves the 64 there, Halenar, and also, I believe, Montevice. Davies is off the racetrack, as is Osborne. They've had problems, but a little few pairs towards the rear. Up front, though, yeah, like I said, it's 12 and the 57 on the outside. Everybody's running single file, and they're going to run a nice and calm race, it seems. Who'd have thought it?
Yeah, you got a couple of exceptions. It was only the 12 to 57. They're going to have a little bit more help as drivers start to join on to that freight train. The 7 Rodney Watford getting to jump up. So does the 76 machine to the outside. That's Scott Warren. And I think Chaburko thinking about it, but we'll go back to the inside. If you're the 7 machine right now, you're keeping your eye on the 3 of Servant. And typically, it's whoever's in that 2nd or 3rd spot on the inside line. Once that outside gets a run, that's the guy who jumps out, and that's the best position to be in to make a move to the outside for a couple of reasons. One, obviously, if you jump out in front of the outside line instead of cycling in line behind them, you're going to get the push of everybody behind you, challenge for the race lead. But also, because you're that 2nd driver in line, so much of Chris Passini's speed right now is dependent on that 3 machine on the inside of the racetrack. All he can do, hold the yellow line. Sure, we might see drivers move up and down, try to control the lanes, but if that machine's going to be quick, he needs the 3 to push him. So if that 3 is to jump out, got about 10 feet where there's nobody pushing. That one then drops back to the 3rd car in line. That may give that 2nd driver in line enough time, but the time he jumps to the outside to get up and get around him. But so far, Servant in no rush. The 1 and the 3 worked pretty well together to get from the outside of the front row, so maybe not necessarily thinking about turning on each other quite yet. The night's still very young.
Certainly is right now, and the outside's forming up here. We've got the 76 back there of Warren. 57 of DeMerchant, 12 to 7 there. Watford up top on the outside. As up comes Jorgensen Jr. Jr. out to try and make his way towards the front of this one. He had a pretty rough showing in the 500, of course, Evan, let's not forget. But, well, Jr. always bounces back.
Yeah, he always seems to be able to find his way up there, even if he finds himself in some issues early on in these races, and has been very consistent in the couple of weeks we've seen him in action so far to this point to be able to start up front and therefore be able to finish up front, try to keep in front of the problems typically The trouble zone is in the middle of the pack, not on the front couple of rows. However, every once in a while, there is an exception. You see the 10 Rod Flag. He's the latest driver to go bottom to top. The Valvoline Chevrolet going to jump up to be third in line on the outside. And now here we go for a challenge for the race lead. Jorgensen going to get it at the start-finish line, but can he get clear? Wofford gives him a whale of a push to turn number 1, and he will step down. New race leader, the 88.
Didn't take him long, did it, Evan? Jorgensen Jr. to the sharp end of this one, and well, it's a position he's very familiar with. Is looking back in a front group. Just ahead of the 42, the 22 of Traberco making some wild moves around Harry Tiller there. Looking like he's about to get on this one as the 7 drops down. That is Wofford dropping into the lead position right now. Got Flag up on the outside, getting left in the cold there with 12 of Henry.
And when the 88 jumped down, Wofford then became the lead car on the outside. The outside really didn't die off, but as soon as Wofford went to the inside, Rod Flag really started to struggle, and he'll just drop right back down in line. And funny enough, despite the fact that he kind of abandons that outside lane, he's actually higher running position if he were to have stayed behind that one than when he went to the outside. When he was first on the inside, he was actually behind the 3, so he kind of leapfrogged up in front of Paul Servin. He'll go back to the outside, though, and hopefully with a push from the Taco Bell Chevrolet, the 12 of Corey Henry will challenge for the race lead. A lot of speed this time. Down back straightaway at 201 miles an hour. Not going to have enough distance, though, on this straight to get him this time.
Not quite. They're going to have to get some good momentum going again to make this thing work. But right now they're forming up again. 4 cars. Seems to be about a magic number to get things started. People will come up and join them and make a run towards the sharp end. But here on lap number 8 of, well, what could be in the region of maybe just under 100. Depending on how time plays. We'll see, of course, there. Look, everyone abandoning the inside there. Wofford being left on his own. In fact, losing a lot of speed there to Servin, who just catches up to the back. And they go 3 wide already. Henry to the top side. Jorgensen Jr. leading that second groove. He wants to get back to the lead himself. He saw the train coming. Things shuffling around in this lead pack. Getting a little busy. 76 there. A little bit sideways as suddenly we have 2 full lanes here at Talladega.
I think the 12 of Henry has to be a little bit thankful there. It looked like the 57 backed off a little bit and DeMerchant let him back in line, because if you're to get trapped on that 3rd lane, and I said it's Talladega, a 3rd lane works. Not going to work by yourself, though. You get a couple of cars out there, maybe, but if that 12 was to stay boxed out there on the outermost lane, he would have gone straight to the back. So looked like the 57 might have let off a little bit, let him back in front, so they double file back out top to bottom. Ronnie Wofford in the 7 did almost everything he could to prevent Jorgensen from getting to his outside. That's why we saw him make the move to the outside of the racetrack and then go back down to the bottom, trying to control both lanes. Pretty neck and neck, though, for the top spot this time down the back. The 88 has better help from the 1 than the 7 does from the 3. It looks like Servin's really hot, and with no push, the 7's not going anywhere.
Not at all. Look at that train pulling forwards there. Flag might even get clear. I don't think he will this time by, but Flag holding there with Pacini as they get a great run off the corner. This is something I'm seeing with this new fuel load we're starting with, Evan. This 55% fuel load these cars are running now, it's making them lighter. It's picking that back end up a bit more. It means the spoiler is a bit more in the wind. That means these cars are a bit slower than they normally were. They have a bit more drag going on. And this means we start seeing this suck-up be much bigger, the draft has more influence, and we're starting to see much tighter pack racing with this, and I think it's a little bit more exciting.
And obviously, because of those new fuel regulations, cutting it down about 20% from what it was last season. We're already halfway through a run on fuel. Lap number 11 in the works right now is Rod Flag in the number 10. First time tonight, he will go to the race lead, and he makes that move from the outside to the inside, so the help from the 12 was more than enough. And just recently making the move for the race lead was the 88 machine, and well, the 7, who technically was leading at this point last time by, is going to end up about 5th by the start-finish line. Just goes to show you how quickly things can change in the pack.
Certainly does, indeed. And we'll have to see whether he can get this one changed up a little bit. That's broken down now from what we saw. But we've got some cars joining in this group from the rear now as they've been fighting. They've lost a lot of speed there. As now Flag will be leading out front. Have the 1, the 88, and the 7. Henry has really not had much speed so far today. He's been nestled around that kind of 5th or 6th spot so far all day long. Always seems to be starting the momentum and staying up there, getting the run going. People ahead just hop up and take his steam off him, so hopefully he'll get a chance to go forwards himself.
Want to make a note about that 88 of Art Jorgensen Jr. as you see him go to the outside of the racetrack. He wasn't able to get the finish that he wanted 1 week ago in the 500, but going into that 500, he was one of the I-5 bonus drivers, and that's something that is back for this season, something that we saw here with the Superspeedway Cup Series a couple of seasons ago. If you finish in the top 5 the week prior, if you could go to victory lane the week following, as we see the 88 get a good push and go to the race lead, then you get $5 in the I-5 bonus. If nobody who finished in the top 5 the week prior takes that I-5 bonus, $5 gets added, and it will continue to add up until somebody backs up a top 5 with a win. So your top 5 finishers from 1 week ago: Jason Altmans, Brandon Chaburko, as we see 3 wide for the race leader, to challenge by the 88, and he's going to get turned though. Jorgensen into the outside wall. He'll take Flag and Wofford with him.
Big hits there. Took Flag and Wofford, and in the evasion there, Henry hits the 57, spins the pair of them, and Savant. And the 22 goes down into other traffic, and that involves about 8 or 9 cars. Big one here on lap number 13, Evan.
But we saw the 10, he had all the speed to come up and take it away for the 88. I'm surprised, though, that when Jorgensen went up to block, the 10 of Flag didn't go to the bottom. I guess the 88 did what he wanted to. He forced the 10 out of the way, but it cost him so much speed. I think it's very difficult to blame that one on Wofford, Rachel, because as we take a second look at the LSRTV replay, he had the 12 all over him. The 12 had the 57 all over him, and those second and third cars in line behind him, no way they can see that they're catching up to the 88 quickly. If the 7 were to hit the brakes, he would have spun himself out, and things just got out of control real quickly at lap number 13. He snapped back up the hill and took out 3 of the drivers inside of the top 5. That's not where it ended, though, because then more drivers went wrecking towards the start-finish line. The 12 of Henry involved, and that 57 is Seth the Merchant.
Yes, it was. That was a huge hit for a lot of those cars, and wow, that one will that'll reset our fuel clock and obviously tyre clock here for the drivers as everyone heads down pit road now for service here on lap number 14. And that's rattled a few gauges. A couple of those drivers and a lot of front runners there. Now onto those backup cars, which means they're in a real tough position here, and they're going to have to start thinking about how they progress in this race.
Well, I spent some time earlier in this thing talking about how Jorgensen likes to qualify up front and stay up front because it keeps him out of trouble. That theory really didn't work in that application. Race off for the pit lane, going to be handily won by the driver who came in as the race leader, Chris Bassini. He takes what I think will be the call for the most cars as the night goes on, and that was 2 tires only. Interestingly enough, though, did go with the left side tires. So back to the I-5 bonus. The couple of drivers who I was just naming off happened to be the drivers of the accident, but Jason Altmans, Brandon Chaburko, Rodney Wofford, Gary Champion, and Tom Dryerling are your I-5 bonus drivers tonight. They can be identified by an orange windshield banner on board their cars. $10 up for grabs additional to all those drivers if either of them can win. If none of those 5 drivers win, $15 will be on the line next week for the top 5 finishers from tonight. That's something that's going to continue as the season goes on, and sometimes you got somebody win right off the bat, they get the $5 of the bonus. I think the most money anybody has ever won, Rachel, in the I-5 bonus was $65, which means that we had gone 13 weeks without somebody backing up a top 5 with a win. So that just goes to show you how difficult it is to find consistent success at these plate tracks. But the most the I-5 bonus has ever been, if I can remember correctly, was $65, and that happened twice.
Yes, it is, and it'll definitely shake things up for this one because no, we've got some guys staying out here. 21 of Hedrick wants to stay out, I think, on this one. He qualified in 30th. Glenn Hedrick gonna risk this one. No, he's gonna come down pit road. He wanted a lap lead, as Passini will take back the race lead of this one. Ahead of the likes of Rittenauer and Tiller now up into 3rd. This has really changed what we're going to see in this race. A lot of those guys couldn't make it back to pit road, so they're going to have to go lap down, getting that car towed. This has already put these guys in a hole. And this is guys like Corey Henry. This is Seth the Merchant. Jared Haggerty down 2 laps here as well. Wofford and Flag also down laps. Harrington. Chaburko's on track. Jorgensen Jr. is just about on track. I'm not sure how. But some huge names here. Already multiple laps down. And this is going to really stink for those guys.
So Hedrick, we expected to come down to the pit lane. Obviously, he's not going to be able to make it much more than about 22 laps on the fuel that you have on board. A couple of caution laps in there. If he were to stay out, he might be able to get to lap 24 or 25, but just not a realistic strategy. He did have problems though, but he tried to come down pit road this most recent time, dove off to the safety of the pit lane to get service, but unfortunately he missed his pit box. Glenn Hedrick, who qualified this race in 30th position, started to work his way over to the left, and he missed the pit box. So he's going to have to go around an additional lap and come down pit road. Good news is the lights did not go out on top of the pace car, Rachel. So often we see drivers stay out. They'll pit right at lights out to top off on fuel. If that would be the case, he wouldn't have been able to pit under yellow. He would have had to come down under green. So good news for him. Lights on top of the pace car. He'll get that service this next time by. It'll only furthermore ensure that he'll be all the way at the back when they get doubled up.
Yeah, he will in this situation, and that's going to require some strategy to race their way back up to the front of this, but we should be going back green next time by, I think, by my judgment in this, and oh, we've moved a bunch of guys from the mid-pack further forward in this race just to do some attrition there. That's going to shake up the middle part of this because we're looking at about 16 laps in the books, so stage 1 is lap 50, and that could be a long, long time at this rate. We've nearly dropped our first 20 minutes of this race, so an hour and 20 minutes left, 18 minutes left. That's going to be this rate. Maybe we'll see lap 50 by about the halfway point or just after it.
Yeah, the way that the races were last season, 100 laps at Daytona, only did 94 laps though here at Talladega. The little bit of extra distance only required 94 laps to get to our 250 mile marker. So some of these races this season will be below that 94 marker. I'm sure some races will be a little bit further than their 94. It all depends on how many caution flags we see, and it's really the only deciding factor. The only caution we know that is going to come out is lap 50. In fact, lap 50 is the only lap that means anything, and that's why we're talking laps right now. You look at the top of your screen, that's the timer. When that gets inside of 30 seconds, the next time by the start finished on, it's the white flag. Now, the drivers can see how much time's left on the clock, and because of that, they're able to kind of do the math inside their head and figure out how many laps are left to go. But the only lap that matters here tonight, because we don't know what lap the last lap's going to be, the only lap that matters is lap 50. That's the only guaranteed caution, and that's a real turning point in this race, Rachel. Even though if it doesn't end up being right at the halfway point in the night and the time-wise, I think that is the end of stage 1, and that's what everybody's shooting for. Get to lap 50, you get that caution. If you're in the top 10, you get those bonus points. If you get the stage win, you get some playoff points, and then you move on. And probably after that competition caution for the end of stage number 1, we probably won't be talking about laps anymore after that.
No, I think in these races we are going to start talking about time rather than laps, because the laps are irrelevant, Evan. The more cautions we have, the less laps we get. This is all about time. They're going to have to start thinking in an endurance racing mentality. How long do I have left? How long of this race is this going to play? Each caution cycle, you're talking 8 minutes. So that knocks a good chunk of time off our race each time it happens. And in fact, that's almost a tenth of the race every time we get a caution.
And that's why we can see races this season that we're going to have a lot less laps and some with a lot more laps, all dependent on how that factors into the strategy. This time by, lights on top of the pace car are out, so we will get an opportunity to go back green. It'll be with 18 laps complete. That puts these drivers within what would end up being 32 laps of lap 50. Of course, you guys don't have laps up on your screen because this race is timed, so we'll try to do our best to keep you noted on where we are in laps in reference to the lap number 50 end of stage number 1, but just to make things nice and easy, the drivers cannot make it to the end of stage number 1 with the fuel on board. So if it's under caution or if it's under green, either way, there will be pit service in between now and then.
Yeah, there really will be, and that's going to be something they have to think about. These guys are all pitted now, so we're probably going to get at this point to about lap 40 if we stay green. That'll be interesting to see.
And I'm curious if anybody, you talk about working this race backwards based on time, curious if somebody, if they're confident that this race will go green. And just because of the fact that we've only had 1 yellow, I doubt it's going to happen. But what if somebody pits in 10 laps from now with, 22 laps to the end and do the short pit, and instead of taking that long run at the beginning and then just pitting when you're almost out of gas, do it backwards. Try to reverse engineer it. Maybe if you get a couple of groups, a couple of guys together in a group, it might not be a terrible idea.
Yeah, certainly not. And it's always about group racing here at Talladega. That's what they have to really focus on as we're going to be getting ready to go green now, Evan.
Pace car going to duck off and away, and for the first time, the one is going to be in control. Pole sitter Ray Rittenauer, who brought us to the first green flag, hasn't fallen all too far back. He's on the outside of row 2. Other than them and Harry Tiller, who's at a race side P3, everybody else who started this race inside of the top 10 is 17th and furthermore back in the field. Really bunched together, 2 by 2, as we come out of the trial. Full green flag flies as we go back and away.
Certainly do. Not as good a restart this time by for the outside, but they are collecting it up again. It's again stayed very equal. Very interesting to see there how equal that start has been. Ray Rittenauer, of course, qualified in first. They drop down. Problems! Again, major disaster as everyone gets hit in that, apart from the top 3.
And that's a parking lot at a quarter number 2. Caution, gonna come right back out, and for the second time in a row, it stems from towards the front of the field. Just a little bit of contact, and somewhat similar to what we saw in the last time. You just got guys all over each other. The 98 machine, Andy Kessler, can't do anything because he's got the 42 of Victor Bartlett pushing him, and I'm sure the 98 saw the 18 getting out of shape, but again, you hit the brakes, the guy behind just pushing him into him. So you just have all these cars that stack up, and when the 18 came back up the hill, that was problem enough. They came down the hill and collected a couple of other drivers, but the real issue, I think, where most of the contact came from is when that 83 machine who got punted came back up the hill, because Ramon Evans was doing nothing. He got sent down to the bottom, but slid back up, and he took out about another 6 or so cars, and it got really ugly from there.
Oh, it certainly did. And looking at that field, that's a huge amount of cars wrecked in that one, including Seth Emergency's out now. But what I saw there, the 42 of Victor Bartlett there, he caused that whole thing. He pushed the 98 hard, didn't let him back off, and forced him kind of into the back end of the 18, which upset the 18 and caused the whole wreck. And, well, magically the 42 kind of, oh, well, he didn't get through it now. Karma caught up with him. But I'm looking back at this, and it's just like, it's ping pong. There's cars scattering everywhere. That is a junkyard of wrecked race cars in the backstretch there, Evan. I think that's 3/4 of field got something in that one. And that was caused by someone impatient. The 42 was impatient, and he didn't get off the back of a car coming out of a corner. That's Superspeedway 101.
So the big one strikes in the opening couple of minutes here, really, from Talladega. This race has had just over 22 minutes completed to this point. And there's already a lot of drivers who are torn up. Almost, I'd say, half the field now has had to come down and use their quick repair, and that's a generous estimate. It's probably a lot more than that, but because so many drivers towards the back got caught up in that, I wouldn't be surprised if those 6 or 7 names that we had mentioned being stuck a lap down who had got involved in that first accident, had to tow to pit road and use up that quick repair. I wouldn't be necessarily surprised if some of those drivers have now gotten involved in a second accident. Seth the Merchant, that car to the garage. You've got Paul Servant, that car to the garage. Those drivers both started top 10.
Yeah, certainly does, and this is completely shaking things around. We're probably going to see a couple of guys fuel up here just to kind of extend their range on this one, but it was so close off the restart. I think maybe we'll see some people topping off. No fuel, though. Maybe some guys will stay out. It was that close to a cycle. I think we'll see some people stay on track.
Mark Jorgensen Jr. was in 23rd position when we came back to the green flag. Keep in mind that they wrecked just at a turn number 2 off of the restart. He is in 7th position now on the racetrack. So that means that at minimum, 16 drivers in front of him. Doesn't even count the drivers behind him who might have been caught up in a mess. At least 16 cars collected in that one. That's half the field. 31 drivers started this race. So half the field at least was in that accident.
Yeah, that's huge. That's why we don't talk about big ones. I think someone mentioned it right in the YouTube chat there. That was the colossal one, Evan. That was the colossal one. That was crazy. And it was impatience. You don't need to be that excited off a restart in the first 20 minutes. It's just not called for.
And we saw how good the outside line was on that first restart. Unconventionally exceptional, I think, was the term that I had used, where they had actually 3 drivers on the outside, pass your pole sitter by the time we got to turn 3 on the opening lap of this race. So I think that the guys at the outside might have been a little bit too overzealous, maybe setting that as a goal for themselves. They were all pushing on each other. And again, there's just no way that's going to work off of a restart, more specifically, because you're hitting each other a lot more. But pushing in the corners is so delicate. There was a point in this series at which pushing in the corners was not allowed. Now, it's fair game. The punishment is not a penalty. It's to having your race car end up in a couple of dozen pieces, and some drivers and many drivers who weren't involved in the actual bump draft there are the drivers who get caught up in all of this.
Yeah, very much so. And I think a lot of innocent victims were involved in that one. It was one of those situations when it comes to racing. These things will happen, but these guys are eating up a lot of time. That's 20% of the race now gone under caution.
Clock going to continue to wind down. I was just seeing we're just outside of the cusp of this caution flying being able to bridge us to the end of stage 1, which is going to come at lap number 50. Right now we're working under caution at lap number 22. On the evening, of course, in an hour and 14 minutes is when this race is going to come to an end based on time. Laps only matter through stage number 1. So 22 laps, which is calculated out to be about 20 minutes of green flag racing without cautions, is how far you can go on fuel. So even if you were to top off right as we get the one to go, and get ready to go green, I still don't think that puts you in the fuel window. So really, outside of the fact that a lot of race cars got torn up, nothing changes because of this caution in the strategy vision.
No, this doesn't change our strategy one bit. That was so close off a restart, it's not affected anything, and frankly, we're in a position here where these guys haven't even really gotten to the racing yet, or gotten to strategy. We need to see at least one green flag cycle before that happens, and they need to calm down. We've had such bunched up restarts here because of this fuel load change. And remember, this is the first time we've been to Talladega with this new fuel load and how it's changed the cars, and I think it's really causing things to be a lot busier.
And as a common viewer, somebody who may not be on the iRacing service, you look at Daytona and Talladega, you can only happen to think to yourself, well, just how different are they? Sure, one's a little bigger, one's a little wider, but they do race very differently. I very much prefer Talladega over Daytona because I enjoy having more space, and you can just see as these cars pace, especially when you're on one of the higher camera angles, the car doesn't look that big in comparison to how wide the racetrack is. If you wanted to park cars, you could probably fit 6, almost 7 of them in that amount of space. Now, that's completely different when you're parking cars 7 wide than when you're driving them at 200 miles an hour. And that's where things get chaotic, and that's why you see guys having so much room on the racetrack, it seems, fighting for over such little real estate.
That's very true, and we're going to come to the restart this time but these guys have to remember to be a little bit more patient. There's a lot of room, and that room does, as you mentioned, breed the willingness to go for positions and push things, but we often see accidents here, not when they're 3 or 4 wide, but when they're 2 wide. It's just a matter of racetrack awareness, and we're seeing new guys come in, and they're going to learn. The first 4 or 5 rounds, I think, of the 7, they're going to be a bit on the bumpy side, I think, because these drivers find their slot in this series.
And one of those new drivers, Harry Tiller's already got a win in this series. Not a official win quite yet, still looking for that, but he's going to jump up to 2nd position for this restart after he was 3rd the last time. Ray Rittenauer, your pole sitter, who brought us to the green flag the first time, restarted from 2nd after the first caution, is going to restart 3rd after this one to the inside of row number 2. Field going to come into the trial once again, waiting on the 1 to get us back underway. Green flag flies. Tiller, I think, tried to guesstimate when that was going to come, went a little bit early, had to roll out of it, and right at that moment is when the green flag came out, and it really hurt the outside, especially the 01.
Just to step outside that 4th wall of the sim world here, Evan. From what I know, a lot of these guys are on triple screens. Tiller is on 1. That's his limitation on a restart on the outside lane. In fact, for a single screen users, the outside lane for 2nd position is the hardest place to restart. Guessing when that leader will go is so difficult. He did a decent job, but look at this. Brandon Guzman's device has taken real advantage here, and he could get a great run up against Bassini.
And I can promise you that on that outside lane, especially that number 2 position, it's still nearly impossible, even if you've got those 3 screens. It is, I'd say, one of the hardest positions to restart in now. Second place, I'm sure anybody will take second over 22nd any day of the week, but it does come with its challenges, and the 0-1 and Travis Brown got all kinds of out of shape in the tri-oval, not as much so at Daytona, where you get really loose on the bottom, but these cars do get a little bit unsettled at Talladega, especially in that lowermost lane in the tri-oval. You see, there's almost like 3 lanes painted on the racetrack, courtesy of 2 sets of stripe lines all the way around the racetrack. Well, a 3rd line shows up in the tri-oval and essentially opens up a 4th lane all the way on the inside. That is very, very loose when those drivers are down there. That might have been why the 0-1 got a little bit squirrely, as both the 69 of Tiller and the driver who was to his outside get to drop back down in line, and we go single file top 10.
Yeah, very much so. The entire group here is going to be going single file at the moment, and that's a great position for them to be in. This will promote some good long run racing, and that's what we want to see here. But look at this, 20 cars in the lead lap, Evan, after 24 laps. Everybody else at least 2 laps down. DeMerchant is out, Haggerty's out, Servant is out at the moment. Harrington's still running, but right down the order. Everybody else, they're 2 laps down, and they're in the race now. They're working forwards, but it's not looking great for them. Rod Flag, he's just back on the lead lap. He's with the rear group off the back end. The rest of them, they're working their way forwards here, but it's going to take them some time. And honestly, a lot of these guys are going to be a little gun shy now. Nearly half the field, if not all of the field, is down to their backup machines.
And maybe that's why you do see everybody single file. Also, there's a lot of drivers still stuck laps down. We've got 20 cars on the lead lap, and that's a good number. But there's a lot of drivers off the lead lap but are still in this race. 21st through 28th position are all drivers that are still on track. They've got clean cars now because they've used the quick repairs. Just they lost that time because they had to tow the pit lane. So Ramon Evans, Sean McGarrick, Larry Camp, Victor Bartlett, Tommy Hall, Andy Kessler, Gary Champion, and Dan Harrington all in this race, but all 2 laps down, so they're not up with the leaders mixing it up, which allows the guys in the top 10 to single file out. In fact, most of the side-by-sides amongst all those lap guys I was just talking about.
Yeah, very much, and they're doing what they can here to try and get it forwards. But with it being single file, that's the hardest time to get moving in these fields. It's very difficult to get momentum when you're all single file, 1s and 2s trying to move. As we see further down the order, guys are trying, but it's not going to be very easy for them. And I'm looking at Brandon Chaburko's car. He picked up some damage in that second incident. His first car was already written off, so he's running with a slightly damaged race car here, trying his best to keep with this pack.
And it's so difficult to do that when you have damage, especially if you're at the tail end of a group of cars. If you're leading a group, not all that bad, but the 22 is pretty torn up. If you're the 0-1 of Machida right now, Travis Brown, it makes a move to the outside. If nobody goes with him, he risks falling to the back, and he is going to try to abort. No, Tiller going to get to the inside. So now the 0-1's going to be in a tricky spot, because if you're the, 54 is going to help him out, so never mind. Monts of Ice bails him out, and an outside lane is going to form. Now Tiller's in the bad spot because you've got nobody behind him pushing. So he's trying to suck up to the 88, and the draft is strong, but the draft is best when there's somebody in front and behind you. So the 69 machine, as we go 2x2x2, is going to be able to get some side draft to the 0-1 and get things back orderly. But if you are single file, it is very difficult to be that last car in line and to not lose contact.
Absolutely, and they're doing their best to make that happen, of course. You drop off very easily from single car groups. This front pack starting to make a run here at the front. The 10, or the 88, sorry, and the 0-1 already making a run on the outside there. 54 looks like he might decide to go with them, or at least give them a hand. But he has to keep his eyes behind him on the 21 and the 24 there. And the 06, who is currently sneaking up quickly. Look at that up on the outside there on his own. The 88 Junior doing his best here, holding on, but will need some friends.
The side draft is good enough to stay there, and it might help him out the fact that the top 6 are no longer broken away. We've got a 14-car lead pack all in one line, with the exception of the 88 and now the 54 of Monts of Ice. So you need strength in numbers on the outside to get around. Look at Tiller, though. Sees the run coming. Jorgensen going to try to get around, and looks high, looks low, and Tiller not going to give it up. He'll now take control of the outside, but there goes the 54. Monts of Ice now fills the opening that was left by Tiller, and we're back to only 2 drivers on the outside.
Yeah, only two on the outside now, and three at the moment as we've got a Hedrick up there as well to join in. Tiller leading that front group has pulled out in front of Junior. Tiller getting a shove towards the sharp end of this one, and he sees himself in a great spot going into one. Not going to have momentum through that corner. That's always going to be a problem you see, but should get a huge run here from the 88 as they come off the corner.
In the 1T, he tries to move up to take the line away, but Tiller has the momentum. Can he get clear, though? The 87 Rittenauer is going to bail out the one machine. Last second push. They are not going to be able to get up alongside, and we will stay side by side for the race lead. Into the corner, outside is not the place to be. You want to be on the bottom. Coming out of the corner, that's where the outside has an opportunity.
Yeah, it really does, and that's when you need to really get the advantage. This guy behind the leader has to really shove coming off that corner. And the way you get that to happen is you have to help them break through that bubble of air, Evan. So the guy in front, the leader, if anything, the lead car, this sounds counterintuitive, but the lead car has to lift out of the gas coming off the corner. Just briefly, as they're just about to come off the corner, lift off the gas. That breaks the car behind you through the bubble of air, and it gives you an almighty shove, and you get a lot of speed, just like they're doing right now. And you should see the 88 Junior and Tiller clearing the one, and they're going to drop down.
They both do, so first and second to make a move at the outside. Tiller to the race lead. Jorgensen into second position. That will leave the 21 of Glenn Hedrick as the lead car on the outside. As you see your race leaders try to sneak around, then they will. Tiller, no support. The rookie coming into this 15th season of Superspeedway Cup Series action, going up against two seasoned veterans. And the 88 machine, kind of like an old school two-car tandem switch, goes up top, drops right back down, and now puts the 69 behind him.
Yeah, he does, and right now that's going to be a position he wants to be in, because this field is really bunching up once again. And Monsivice drops down as caution will fly. We've had something back in the pack, and I'm not sure what happened.
Couple of guys slow. Shot of McCarrick his way back, trying to see if maybe issues were with the number 52, and it looks like they were. So yellow out for the third time tonight, coming at lap number 30 on track, just under 40 minutes of our 100 complete. And I was talking about how cars get loose on the inside most part of the tri-oval, and it looks like that's all that happened. As you take a second look, a lot of sparks come off of those cars as you see them appear in that fourth lane that is nowhere else but the tri-oval. And a 52, not even like he got down onto the apron or anything, Rachel just drifted up a little bit, trying to correct it, and that car got really upset, and as he was spinning, the 29 of Tommy Hall tagged him in the right rear. That's what sent him around, and as that car came to a spin back up to the double yellow is where the yellow comes out.
Yeah, it is, and well, the field's going to bunch up once again. For caution number 3, that'll be 13 minutes nearly of cautions we're going to see today. Lap 34, expect people to come down now, because if they can go green, this will take them to the end of our first stage.
Yeah, pit stops this time going to make it the next 16 laps to end stage number 1. And then, of course, would expect people to then come back down pit road at that point and try to, at that moment, then see how many minutes have been completed, how many minutes are to go, and start to formulate a pit strategy from that point on. But we slow things down once again. Drivers are headed pit side to be able to make it to the end of the stage.
Yeah, certainly will. And everyone coming in for their stops now. We'll see if this is tires and fuel. Could well be, but not sure. In comes Junior and Passini, and Rittenauer into their front boxes. Wofford behind them. It's going to be right side tires in a moment. Going on those cars and down and away. Fuel right side tires. It's a race off pit road. Won by Tiller. Contact there with Rittenauer second, and that was busy. Rittenauer got slow out of his box, and he made, well, I think he really actually spun himself up there. No damage, but that was a very busy run off pit road.
It was a 5-car race off of pit road, and it looked like it might have been the 87, then the 88, then the 69, then the 21, and then the 1. iRacing, though, with the automatic scoring system, is going to let us know who really wins the battle off of pit road, and I think it's going to end up going to the 87 machine of Ray Rittenauer, who, again, if you look at the race off of pit road, the 87 is in the best spot because he's got the number 1 pit stall. All you got to do is make it to the white line. First driver to the white line wins the race off of pit road. He was he was last. He was like the 5th car to get going off of pit road, Rachel, but because his nose hit the line first, he's your race leader.
He is, and that's a great position for him to find himself, as I think Rod Flag has stayed out, or will be staying out. He's on the lead lap now, so might have to go to the back. We'll find out how this one cycles through. 87 though. Yeah, just made it to the line first. Impressive there, even though he nearly spun himself out.
So you saw that overhead shot, you saw the yellow line. If the yellow line was the scoring loop off of pit road, which is only maybe 10 feet further down the racetrack, he would have been 4th off of pit road. But because the line is where it is, and that's the benefit of qualifying up front in these races, he was the first off of pit road. Rod Flag does stay out, takes the bonus point. The number 10 of Alphaline Chevrolet going to come to the pit lane, so that will mean that the 87 is going to go to the race lead. Tiller going to maintain the P2 position in which he has been running behind Tim Jorgensen, still in 3rd.
He is, and wow, Jorgensen Jr. in 3rd, Hedrick and Passini, Monster Vice behind them. Potent grouping still towards the front of this one, as they really have to work on this. This is just a little too frequent for cautions, especially at timed events.
Speaking of timing, coverage of tonight's Superspeedway Cup Series event from the Talladega Superspeedway is brought to you by Joel Real Timing, the official timing software of LSRTV. Whether you spend your time on the sim behind the wheel, on the pit box, or from the spotter stand, JRT is your go-to software for iRacing timing and scoring analytics. You can get yourself a basic download or the pro version today online by going to www.joel-real-timing.com. Joel Real Timing is the official timing software of LSRTV, and especially on Friday evenings from this point on, as we have the clock in factor to this point. This is only the 2nd official race on the season. This season is going to be going on for quite some time, and let's take this moment under the yellow to just tell you a little bit more about what is to come in this championship. It is a 19-race championship, 13 races of which are the regular season. So after tonight, 11 more to go, and then the playoffs start. There will be 3 drop weeks in those 13 races. Your best 10 finishes will count towards the points for those that are battling to get into the playoffs based on points. The playoffs start for race number 6 if you've won a race in the opening 13 weeks and maintain a top 25 in the overall points, automatically in the playoffs. Also, the highest 5 drivers without a win will qualify for the playoff regardless. So if we only have, and just to kind of figure this out, there are going to be a minimum drivers in the championship of 12 at minimum. But if we have 10 different race winners, Rachel, we'll have 15 in the playoffs, because there will be at minimum 5 positions in on points. So that is something to fight for the drivers who struggle to close these things out. But my recommendation, put it in victory lane.
Oh, absolutely. Recommendation will always be put it in victory lane. It's kind of the only position you want to be in at the end of a race. But as we come around here to restart this time by, field already getting very thinned out.
Restart going to come with 20 drivers on the lead lap, but most of those drivers that I was talking about under the last yellow that found themselves stuck 2 laps down have actually been able to get back to the lead lap. Some of them have only been able to get 1 lap back. So you've got 21st position Rod Evans, 22nd Andy Kessler, 23rd Victor Bartlett. You got Gary Champion 24th, Sean McCarrick 25th. Those are all fast race cars, but are stuck a lap down. Scored between 21st and 25th position on a racetrack at a moment. And I think that really there's so little cars left on track, Rachel, not because of the amount of cautions we've seen so far. An average of 1 every 10 laps or so is not really too out of the normal for any sort of plate track racing, but it's just because of that colossal one we saw at turn 2 a while back that took out almost 3/4 of the field.
Yeah, that's really what's cost us so far, and hopefully we'll not see that again for the duration of this race here, as we are under the hour mark now, so time is running out.
Pace car going to go back in this time. Right now, we're going to have an opportunity to jump back up to the front row. You saw that great battle off for the pit lane. He's back where he was 37 laps and 44 minutes ago. Pace car down. The 69 Tiller did not have a good restart last time, but he outside. He looks to be better this time. Hangs back a little bit so he can see that 87 out of the front of his screen. He tries to roll up to him. Green flag comes out once again, and he inside with the jump.
Yeah, big jump for the inside. Tiller not great on those restarts out front, and could be kicking himself for that as he does get a bit of momentum here, and they do hold fairly well. I mean, this is what we still consider a normal good restart by the outside, but considering the ones we've seen today, it's a little weaker.
Just watching these guys get up to speed, everybody, so far so good. Too wide all the way through the field. Actually see the 87 right now, instead of hugging that yellow and the 69 pinching him, kind of reverse. 69 was in the middle of the racetrack, and right now we're almost pinched him up a little bit. But inside, place to be. Getting up to speed at 195 miles an hour in this set of the quarter. So difficult for the draft to be a big factor on the opening lap. So look for the 69 to try something the next time by. But right now we're going to be able to maintain through this lap.
Yeah, right now will do for now, and with them dropping back on the outside, it should really retain this one for quite a while, because the outside lanes really fall apart here. They're all dropping down. Wofford drops away first of that group. The rest of them are looking for slots. Monsivice looks down. Tiller looks down. Will he have room? He does just, but it was very nearly not in front of the 0-1. That was good reactions by Travis Brown there to make sure there was a gap.
Travis Brown as well, one of the new names to this championship. Not a new name to us here on LSRTV, but a new name to the Superspeedway Cup Series. Was saying the same thing about Tiller, who so far has shown a lot of speed. Spencer Preet, another name, making their way back into this championship. Single file, all with the exception, it looks like the 21 Hedrick, Havalita Bashid, really struggling on the outside. He's going to be outside of the top 10 by the time we come by this time, because everybody else is single file. There's nowhere for him to get in line.
Yeah, nowhere to drop down, and everyone finally just about does. Hedrick's trying to find his slot, but it's not ideal for him at the moment. He'll get down eventually. It really will feel like a long time from out there on his own, but single file, let's hope this works. Last time we went single file, it crashed in the back, so who knows.
Lead group looks like it breaks up at about 15th position. They're all single file at the moment. This time by 40 laps and going to be complete from Talladega. That means there are 10 laps left in stage number 1. 53 minutes left on the clock. The driver's not in the lead pack. 16th on the back, still led by Brandon Chaburko. The 22 still with all that damage. He, Daniel Holloway, Rod Flag, and Alex Hallinar are 4 seconds off. A lot of lap cars in that group. Might feel, though, really in a bad spot. The 61 Chevrolet is all by himself. If we're green for 4 or 5 more laps, you're going to see the 61 going by the field on the outside and getting lapped. You just cannot sustain running on the lead lap without the help of the draft. That's about a 15-second per lap difference.
Yeah, it really is. It will cost them, but looking a bit further back in this group, the second group there, a lot of slightly damaged race cars. The 22 really suffering. He has got damage on that car. He cannot maintain his speed at the moment. He's dropping right back. Not a race for him. Surprised he hasn't parked it yet, knowing he can't win. He might want to get out of this one, but it's pretty surprising. He's trying to pull up and get involved into the group, but he knows he can't keep up with them. 98 is pushing him, but not going to be enough. Looking further towards the front, though. Look at this, spreading out now. 3 wide, a little bit further back. Top line now, Wofford and Henry. And then we've got the likes of the 06 of Dryling. A couple of cars, 00, 21 on the middle. That's going to get a little bit busy as they're all going to filter backwards now and drop in, but 3 wide at this stage. Come on, guys, we've just had some problems. Now isn't the time.
And again, that third lane is being used not as a conduit to move forwards. The 7 tried that, but then they just happen to fall back. Again, you need numbers on the outside, and as soon as you lose the momentum, it's going to go away. I don't think that third lane is something that can stay there for a long time. It's something where if you get a big run, you go to the top, you pass them, and if you don't get around them, and that's it. And they had a good run, weren't able to get clear, so we double file things back out. A lot of movement going on in about P6 or 7 right there. Now the 76 machine, the Scott Warren, finds himself leading this outside charge. The inside lane has about a 5 car length advantage over the drivers on the top. You have to think, though, at the end of stage number 1, the top 10 of the drivers who get points is the exact same format as you'll see in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. So, while they're single file, now you have to imagine not only is somebody going to want to win the stage, but there's got to be a pretty good scrap for P10 at some point.
Yeah, there really is, and P10 is going to be important for these guys as well, but yeah, they want to make sure they're in a position for this to be a run towards the end, and this next caution period will take at least another 9-10 minutes off us here, so the 76 of Warren getting pushed high there as 21 of Hedrick is underneath him. Everyone's cycling around Tiller, Rittenhouse, sorry, very front. Junior and Passini going for the lead here. The 14 of Levine will come up behind the 87, but it won't be a push in time. As long as the backstretch will come with the momentum, the 88 and the 1, as they turn him! Problems again!
Oh, and a hard hit. Into the inside wall is right now, and no caution. We're going to stay green. They got out of shape. We got 1, 2, and now 3 drivers involved. Travis Brown's into the inside fence. Harry Tiller is also, and there's going to be the caution flag.
Yeah, that's been thrown by the race control. And that was caused by Ricky Passini. He just came down there on the quarter panel of Rittenauer. And that started the whole thing off. Junior got into the outside wall, and he's not got a spare car. So Junior's car has got damage there, which he won't be able to fix.
And that's what I like to call staggering. It's when you're side by side, but you're not side by side. Your nose is not even with the other guy's nose, and it's very difficult to gauge where somebody else is. The person who had the best view of that was the 1. But it's the 87 who came up a little bit, the 1 drifted down a little bit, and when you're right on someone's quarter panel like that, it's difficult and a little bit of contact. The 88, I'll tell you what, is so fortunate that he didn't get himself completely junked. He did get into the fence, though, so that is going to be damage. And when the 87 spun, we were not going to have a caution flag, because if the caution does come out from the sim, we're going to keep going. However, if there is an incident that involves 3 or more cars that doesn't trigger a caution, race control reserves the right to put that caution flag out. And when they were trying to avoid the accident, the 69 and the 01 made contact. That, in accordance with the 87, 3 cars total, caution flag comes out. So that's why we're checking things up here at minute marker now 50. So halfway home in the time. This will give us one more restart, I think, though, before the end of stage number 1.
I think we might just see that, actually. We'll get 1 or 2 laps, I think, before the end of stage 1, but it'll be 1 probably lap. I think we're going to get 4 laps in the caution. We've had 1 already, so yeah, we're going to have a 1 lap restart, then it'll be back under caution again. That's another 20 minutes off this clock, essentially. Time definitely getting low now.
And again, we were questioning just how far could we go on laps. Well, we're working lap number 46 right now, and we're just past the halfway marker on time. Started with 100 minutes, we're now down to 49 minutes, and now 48 minutes and counting. So we're working lap 46. It's not going to be that much different at this pace than the format that we saw last year at lap distance, 94 laps. The only thing that matters is time, and again, as people continue to join us here on LSRTV at iRacing Live, not to continue repeating to myself for those who have been with us since the drop of the American Ethanol green flag, but again, this is a timed race. At the end of 100 minutes, checkered flag, or the white flag first, and then the checkered flag is going to come out, and this race will end after 100 minutes. We're talking about laps, though, for a couple of reasons. Few for reference, so you know how far along in this race we are, but also there is stage racing that has been implemented into this season, and the end of the stage number 1 is always going to be at the end of lap 50, not 50 minutes, but lap 50. So we're pacing on lap 46. We're going to get a restart before lap 50, Rachel, which means we're going to get a quick 1 or 2 lap shootout and then go back to caution to end the stage and give out those bonus points.
Yes, we are, and that means that the bonus points are very important for these guys to see, and that's a huge thing for the season, especially if people point their way in. And with the attrition we've seen so far, and this has been veteran on veteran action we've seen in this race, this could be a difficult season.
I did see a couple of drivers at least think about coming down pit road the last time, although I believe everybody who caught out of the quarter mile that were inside of the top 5 decided to stay back out. This stage end, just as it does on Sunday nights with the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, Rachel, also opens up some strategy, because we're kind of undercutting that element, I guess. We're saying, and I think that it's what most drivers will do, but we know when we had a caution at about lap 30 that would be enough fuel that you get under the yellow to get yourself to the end of stage and complete 50 laps in this race. So if you're racing for the stage, there's no reason for you to pit right now. Get to the stage. That'll be about 3/4 of the fuel you got on board used up, and then you pit under that caution. There are some people, though, who may pit on this caution, and then when the stage ends and everybody else pits, we'll just drive right up to the front. Now, you're doing that if you're choosing track position at that point in the race over the bonus points, and you know, you could weigh, okay, the bonus points will help, but if I stay out and then go to the front of the field, is that track position going to help me maybe get more points come the end of the race? That's up to you. That's a judgment call. But it is fair to note that maybe not everybody planning on racing out to the end of the stage, drivers pitting now, going to the back, will then not pit at the end of the stage. They'll go up front.
Yeah, they'll have to think about that in this race, and it's something that will really be a factor for this. They want to make sure that they're in a good position, but I think going to the back now wouldn't hurt you too much, because they are going to get a caution again. If you pit now, do you pit under the next caution we know is coming? Pit now, get it sorted, don't come in for the next one, or don't now, get track position, come in the next one. It's a toss-up. Strategy always to play for.
And this, again, is really going to be the only caution from this point on that we know is going to be coming out. If we get a quick yellow on for the restart, if it comes before lap 50, but it brings us into lap 50, that will count at the end of stage number 1. But we should definitely be able to go back underway. Recently on the service, it appears that the caution flag periods have been extended by 1 time around the racetrack. Well, what does that mean for the race? It's 2 minutes to get around the Talladega Superspeedway under caution. So it doesn't matter that it takes away an extra lap. What it matters is that it takes away an extra 2 minutes on time. So we'll take a look at the pace car. This time by the start-finish line, the lights of the pace car are going to go out. So I think that was a regularly scheduled and length caution flag period. So we're going to go green, complete lap number 48. It'll be 2 laps to go when we come to the restart in stage number 1. After that, we're only going to be telling you about time.
We're certainly way on the time. What have we got left? About 45 minutes. That is, that's on the low side. So, I mean, you think about that, it's 4 cautions, it's gone, really. Anything less than that, you're still talking about not a lot of racing time, Evan.
Yeah, the last time by, we completed lap 47. 47 is half of the regular distance we used to do here, 94 laps. And the time is just a little bit under 50 minutes, which is the technical halfway point in this race. We're closer to the end than we are to the start of this event. So the difference is not huge, but this race appears it'll end up at a little bit less total laps. And that also could make things difficult for the strategy, Rachel. Not only trying to figure out how long you can go on fuel, and I'm sure that these drivers are not saying I can do 19 minutes and 30 seconds on fuel. They're going by laps. You can do 22 laps on fuel. So they have to keep track of the laps to know how far they can go on fuel, while also keeping an eye on the time. But because the time can be so swayed by the yellows, you really don't know how far away you are from the end at any point as far as on-track time.
No, you don't, and that's always going to be a major factor. As we come out of 4 now, ready to get going again.
14 going to be in control. I think the first time we've seen Justin Levine in control. Glenn Hedrick to the outside. Number 21 will roll off second. He started 30th position in this race. Brandon Cruz, Montsevice, Tom Tryerlead, and Spencer Preet. The top 5, the top 6 at the racetrack. If you toss Dwayne Cooper in there, all started outside of the top 15. Here we go. 2 laps left to go in stage number 1. And the outside gets a good jump.
Outside does get a good jump here, and that's going to be Hedrick getting a great run now, driving behind him. Big push here, but I think they'll be patient for 2 laps. They know it's going to happen. No, they're not, because somebody who wins this gets bonus points. Look at that, Chimerico gets tipped off the track.
Issues with the 22 machine. He's going to force his way back up above the yellow line. He gets back up without incident. No caution. We stay green. Inside, going to pull by 2 car lengths off to turns 3 and 4. How loyal is Brandon Cruz Montsevice going to be now? We always talk about loyalty. You want to work with people. In fact, you need to work with people at these plate tracks to have success. And we always say, when you come to the end of the race, you throw that away. It's every man for himself. Do you break up an alliance now and then go the end of the race without anybody helping you out just to get some stage points? 1 more lap to go.
Montsevice is going to have to pull out now, because Bassini's got a great run here, and this could be his chance to go to the sharp end here. There'll be a run on the backstretch for them. Montsevice, if he's a gambling man, now is the time to run out and get Bassini's help to get towards the front, abandon the 14. and make it count.
Not really going to be a huge factor because everybody is so tightly packed together, but the caution flag to end stage number 1 will come out after the 10th placed driver on track crosses the start-finish line. Here we come at 3 and 4. The top 10 bonus points on the line. Does Monsivice do anything? He'll ride the back of the 14, and it looks like Justin Levine is going to go uncontested to the end of stage number 1. Started in 16th position. He runs a flawless 2-lap stint, and the caution comes out as Justin Levine wins stage number 1.
Hugely expected result there. We thought it would be a fairly simple run. 2 laps isn't enough to set time or set things up really there, Evan. So as it stands, caution 1 winner, stage 1 winner, if I can get my words out. Justin Levine, great result for the 14.
The drivers who get points, the top 10. Justin Levine is first, Brandon Cruz Monsivice in second, Corey Henry third, Spencer Preet in fourth with Rod Flag in fifth position, Chris Mazzini is sixth spot, Glenn Hendrick is seventh, Rodney Watford is eighth, Tom Dryerling is 9th, and Scott Warren is 10th. That's a look at your Stage 1 results. Those drivers going to walk away in the points. And right as that moment comes out, 60 minutes complete. Only 40 minutes left to go tonight from Talladega. So we'll take this opportunity to step aside. We'll go LSRTV nonstop so you don't miss a moment of the action. When we come back, we'll take a look at our iRacing Midway race break, and we'll count you down to the end of this one. You're watching LSRTV's continuing coverage of the Superspeedway Cup Series on iRacing Live. Plenty more to come, including the good stuff from Talladega when we get back.
Hi, I'm Chris Page. I work here at iRacing. Been here 2 days before launch, actually, is when I got started. So we have developers working on front-end web development. We have back-end guys specializing there. We have DevOps that are dealing with networking, servers, a database team, so many different teams because there's lots of different work to do. The new user interface, which we call Scorpio internally, is a complete overhaul. So in the case of results, the way that it has historically worked is you would request results. The request would be sent to the server, which would then query the database, compile that, and send it back. What we're doing now is whenever we get the results of a race, we'll compile those results and push them up as a static page cached so that when you need it, it's available for you. It doesn't need to be computed on the fly. It will be much faster and scale much better. Just beginning with reimagining the website. We took a step back and said, how do people use this? How do people want to use it? And our initial vision of leveraging the web and getting your stats there, finding out a schedule and joining, that was a good one. And we want to continue to support that as much as possible. We're also making a change so that you'll be able to just double click on the application and fire up and go racing that way. Jump from one race to the next without even leaving the application. The good news is this is a whole new infrastructure, so we'll be able to release it in parallel, and you'll be able to use the existing member site you're comfortable with, but still fire up the application and get the new experience. And that will really help us because as good of a job we've done, there's still things we can learn. And by running it in parallel, we'll be able to collect that data and make it an even better experience. We'll be able to learn by your input. So with the preview of the user interface, you'll be able to use the new feature Time Attack and be able to experience some of the existing functionality, but we still haven't done everything, and that will come over time. We're going to have tighter integration with the sim and the back end than we ever have before. So as an example, in Time Attack, whenever there's a new best lap time, we take that lap data and we push it up into the cloud. What then happens is when you're in Time Attack, you're launching a session, you can pick anyone's best lap time and race against it, whether that be a friend or the leader in your current competition. When you fire up the sim, it will pull down that data and you can race against that lap time. We're looking forward to getting this out to you because we've been working on it for a really long time, but we're super excited about where we're going because this is only the beginning.
Welcome back to the Talladega Superspeedway. You're watching LSRTV's coverage of the Superspeedway Cup Series Season 15 Championship on iRacing Live. Stage 1 goes to Justin Levine, but as we take a look at our iRacing midway race break, he's going to lose that number 1 position. This look top to bottom is brought to you by iRacing, the leading online racing simulation developed from the beginning as a centralized racing and competition service. iRacing organizes, hosts, and officiates races on virtual racetracks all around the globe. But in the fast-paced world of esports, iRacing is a one-stop shop for online racing with officially sanctioned series by NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, and many more. Closing in on 35 minutes to go tonight for Lincoln, Alabama. Gary Champion is going to go to the race lead. Alex Hallinar up to second, Brandon Chaburko third, and Corey Henry in fourth. Then we will find your top finishers from the stages. Justin Levine now in fifth position. Brandon Cruz Bonsevice is sixth spot. Rod Flag is in seventh. Harry Tiller is at eighth with Mark Jorgensen Jr. ninth, and Scott Warren rounding out your top 10.
11th place tonight will be the car of Travis Brown, who's had a very good run so far today. Dio 1, Glenn Hedrick in 12th place. Tom Dryling in the 06 13th, Jimmy Coleman, Spencer Prato in 15th, Chris Massini, Rodney Warford, Victor Bartlett in 18th, Mike Thiel and Sean McCarrick in 20th.
5 more cars scored on the lead lap. 21st position, Daniel Holloway. 22nd, Wayne Cooper. Ray Rittenauer, 23rd. Tommy Hall, 24th. And Dan Harrington in 25th position. Those spots will get shuffled up a little bit because Holloway, Cooper, and Rittenauer are going to come down to the pit lane position. 26th spot is Andy Kessler. He's 1 lap down, and 2 laps down is Sherrod Evans in 27th spot. Everybody else out of this race. 28th, Larry Camp. 29th, Jared Haggerty. And 30th, Paul Servant, just to top things off here. 31st, Seth the Virgin in 32nd position is Dana Osborne. That's been a look at your iRacing midway race break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, visit iRacing.com and sign up today. If you're looking to sign up for a first-time iRacing membership, now is the time to do it. If you go to iRacing.com/World of Outlaws, you got 2 options to choose from: a 3-month iRacing subscription for less than $5, or you can get a 1-year subscription for over 50% off. That deal is exclusive to first-time members only, so now is your time to get signed up if you've been thinking about it. That's iRacing.com/World of Outlaws. Lights out on top of the base car. Right, you're going to get a restart with 33 minutes to go. Well past the halfway point by the time this yellow is going to be complete. Not a lot of time left.
Certainly not, Evan. And well, the restart's going to be happening any second now, and a lot to play for. 30 minutes left. Well, who knows what can happen.
So the first 2 rows going to be all new names. The winners from the stage, as noted, 3rd row on the back, led by Justin Levine. But this is it. No longer talking about laps. So we're going to restart completing 55 laps. But with the stage over, the only thing that matters is what you see at the top of your screen. 33 minutes left to go tonight from Talladega as the pace car drops down to the safety of the pit lane. Let's see what Alex Hallinar can do. How about Gary Champion and Brandon Chaburko? They all started alongside each other outside of the top 10. They occupy the top 3 as one pair. Green flag flies as we go back underway.
We do indeed, and new faces at the sharp end from what we saw at the restart of this race, and well, that can change absolutely everything in this one. One face has been persistent so far, Corey Henry. That 12 car has been there all day. He can't seem to get lost at all. Mark Jorgensen Jr.'s car not looking bad after his brush with the wall. A little bit of a crinkle or two. He's got some damage, but doesn't need to lead until after the final corner, right? Doesn't need that much of a draft, but look at that, Chaburko weaseling his way to the front with his car looking in very good condition.
You don't technically even need to pass anybody or clear somebody for that matter to win this race. All that matters is if you have a nose in front by the time the clock strikes 0. Outside is there, but kind of as expected. The inside going to be the place to be. First lap off for the restart. Gary Champion taking over the race lead from the 64. Hallinar goes to the point. In fact, Hallinar an atrocious lap that time around, as he drops from the outside of the front row down to 6th position as he tries to get the outside going. He's behind Brandon Chaburko. Tight call there with the 22 of the 01. They're going to get nice and cozy with each other as Tiller tries to go to the outside. Chaburko having none of that.
Yeah, classic Brandon Chaburko we're seeing right now. He's getting right in the way where he likes to be, and he's working his way towards the sharp end of this one. Chaburko with a new lease of life after a quiet first part of this race. He's now got the guns out, and he's definitely firing all cylinders.
And remember Brandon Chaburko, he was, for the majority of this race, in that second pack. He was 5, 6, 7 seconds back with a damaged race car. He had a friend back there helping him push. That car was hurt because he got into an incident, but he didn't want to use up his quick repair. What he was thinking is, if I pit now, use my quick repair, I'm going to go out there and get into an accident. So he rode around, was non-competitive for the middle of this race, but rode around, saved the quick repair. He just took it now. That's all he's got for the rest of the night, so I think that's him saying it's go time. Not working on the outside, though. Even the great Brandon Chaburko needs some support, so he'll drop in line behind Time Dryerlin, which is going to be about 9th position as we single file out again.
Yeah, very much. And as he goes there, everyone's going to be still single file. Doing what they need to do at the moment. There's a run coming now with the 64, the 7, and the 1 from further back. Oh, no, 22 Chaburko on the grass there as he pops around with Corey Henry. The two of them nearly having a problem. This will give big momentum to the outside lane as they really start moving at this stage.
Secondary group 06, Dryerlin and company still trying to make the outside work, but they haven't been able to crack, as noted, into the top couple of positions. Actually, a good amount of spacing between the 16, the 14, the 69 and company. Here comes the 01 of Ishida Brown to the outside. 76, just let him go. He made him think he was going to go up there with him, and as soon as the 01 of Machine committed to the top, the 76 ducked right back in line. Cold-blooded Scott Warren on the inside.
Yeah, it's starting to get very edgy right now. They know not much time is left, so for those who, of course, are interested, we're on lap 60 this time by, and we've got about 13 minutes to go. So we're looking at about 90-ish laps if this goes green, maybe. And that's only 4 short, really, of a normal race here that isn't timed, so still a lot to play for.
Plenty on the line, and oh, there they go, Tiller sideways in the corner. Everybody gonna go to the apron, and there they go. Couple of cars gonna get tagged. Caution flag is out, and second piece of mayhem at a corner number 2 on the evening.
And it happens again, and this was contact, I think, a little bit further back. 76 of Warren there just gets a tap from the 01, and that seems to catch the 69, turns him round. Biggest hit of the night, the 06 of Tom Dryling. Oh my gosh, head first into the inside safer barrier with a humongous hit at almost full speed.
And the problem for him was he just got turned again. We might have been okay, but Tiller comes back up track and gets hit, and then you had the 76 machine. It looks like it's hard to tell who that was because the roof flaps are up, but it was the 76 who comes back up the racetrack, and it wasn't the initial contact. It's once everybody starts spinning, all you can do is guess. And unfortunately, like Kurt Busch, guessed incorrectly, drove himself into another race car, and it didn't end very well. But yeah, the 06 just rocketed to the inside. His best Danica and Patrick impression with that impact onto the inside wall. And turn 2 strikes again. It's not typically the place we would expect these guys to find the most issues. In fact, we typically see contact out of turn 4 historically in this series, but turn 2 is definitely the place to be tonight. And that one, I think, honestly, it's just a racing incident. A couple of guys get together, you door slam, you're racing really close off of the corner, the cars get loose, somebody pushes up, it happens. So for all the incidents we've seen of people getting turned, I think that was the first one where maybe they were pushing just a little bit too hard.
Yeah, it really is, and well, it looks like we've got Chaburko out of the race at the moment. He's pretty much given up, he's drifting. Everyone coming down pit road now, and at this rate, you pit now, you make it to the end.
Yeah, because with the amount of time left in this caution flag, it should bridge us to about 22 minutes left, and you might need 1 yellow to be able to make it to the end, but I would not be surprised at all if somebody is willing to call that bluff and to make the strategy game. Here comes Glenn Hedrick, the driver of the number 21, the happily Ford Fusion, a sharp-looking car. He decided to go with fuel only. So despite the fact that he pitted from 3rd, he's going to exit pit road first. Gary Champion, who led us down pit road, is going to lose 3 positions. He decided to go with 2 tires, which I think is the correct call to make.
Yeah, very much so, and it's for interesting split strategies we're seeing towards the end of here. Some fuel just, some left, some rights. It's down to what the drivers previously took in the last stops, of course, but if you feel confident, tyres aren't a huge necessity. This sort of track, you can double stint for 20 laps. I mean, this is basically half a normal stint, so you've got more than enough for the tyres left.
I think at this point, talking about how close people are on fuel, I wouldn't expect people to pit for any more tires, which is why I like Gary Champion's call now. Because if you are in the situation of Hendrick, you want tires now. No one's going to take tires the next time. So I think if you're going to take them, he decided the right time to do it. But how about the 26 machine? Daniel Holloway, nothing. And I expect that car to be down pit road just based on the fact that it's got a lot of damage on it. Not to discredit him at all, he was the fastest driver in practice. I noted that when we went through our LSRTV starting grid. His qualifying time was 4 seconds slower than his best time in practice. Well, nobody's qualifying time would beat their practice time because in practice people were in the draft, but that was quite the fall off as he started way back in 23rd. So he took a bonus point last time by. He'll come down pit road this time, and if he has a quick repair left, now would be the time to take it.
Absolutely. If you've got one left, time to wreck it out there and get yourself a new car, because these things are going to be very necessary. You need to be perfect condition here for this run towards the end. Everything you've got will be important here. Getting yourself up front and clear the damage. And it always seems like the first 2-3 rows tend to be the safest. Time to get up there.
And as safe as those places are, a couple of incidents have sparked their way from up front. So the only place you want to be is where the wreck isn't. That's all I can tell you. There's nothing to guarantee in these events. Just keep an eye on the amount of drivers we've got on the lead lap. That number is at 22 at the moment. A couple of drivers getting waved by. Rejoining us on the lead lap, Daniel Holloway, Harry Tiller, Scott Warren, and Andy Kessler. All drivers who are getting a wave by and are going to join back up to the tail end of the field. Expected maybe lights on the pace car to go out the next time around. No promises on that one. But again, watch the clock. 20 minutes time-wise is about what you can do on fuel. Now, these drivers are using up fuel as they run under the yellow. It's about half of what they would use per lap than they were under green flag conditions. So I still think we're outside of the window. If we get one caution, though, I think that'll bring us right inside of it. I still wouldn't be comfortable. However, with 22 cars in the lead lap, I don't know if I pit. We see in some of these races, Rachel, you get 11 drivers left. You come down and pit, you really don't hurt yourself that much. Worst case scenario, you're back in row 5 or 6, not a big deal, and you're sure you're not going to run out of fuel. But with 22 cars in the lead lap, I think you have to commit to the fuel strategy if you want to play with it at all.
You've got to, yeah, this is the stage where you've got to have made something. You make your bed now, it's time to lie in it. Because these guys, they want to make sure they're in a position where they can run now to the end, and you have to have pitted on this cycle. That's the only way you get to the end of this thing. We are going to be going to the end of this thing. Do not, I'm not going to mince my words here. We will be going to the end from this point. If not, it will be millimeters close to being the end. By my calculations, you get about 20 minutes and 40 seconds of running time on fuel at pace. So right now, I think we're on 23, 24 minutes. So we are just outside a window, barely.
Lights went out on the pace car almost right at 23 minutes left to go in this race. So you're going to go green with 21 minutes left. I mean, that is about as tight as it is going to get for the guys up front. So everybody, though, has come down pit road under this caution flag. You saw drivers who stayed out take a bonus point. They've come back down to the pit lane. The first driver off of pit road is the first driver on the racetrack. So everybody in the same fuel position. I'm just going to take a look back at pit road. Couple of drivers, Rachel, topping off. Brandon Cruz, Montsevice, Daniel Holloway, Chris Pacini, Andy Kessler, Dan Harrington, Ray Rittenauer. Those drivers pitted at the one to go to top off on fuel. That could be huge.
It really could be. Topping off the one to go is a vital thing, and that's really big forethought from those drivers. They put themselves in a position to succeed here, and they may not have to pit if they can save a little bit of gas.
And that would be the ultimate strategy. Try to put yourself in as best a position as you can, and if you don't have to lift out of the gas, that'll tend to help as you try to speed your way up through the field. Pace car down this time for what could be the final time on the night. Hedrick, Hallinar, Levine, as well with Wofford and Jorgensen, give you the top 5 on the racetrack. just taking a scrub to see if I could find highest running I-5 bonus driver is Rodney Wofford. If he wins this race, he gets a $10 bonus because he finished inside of the top 5 just 1 week ago. Pace car back down. Here comes Glenn Hedrick at a 64 of Alex Hallinar. 21 minutes left to go from Talladega, looking for the green flag.
Big jump there by Brandon Chaburko, just on the outside, really to the outside of the 61. Him and Harry Tiller looking to make a third lane already off this restart. Chaburko just jumps the 61 and drops back in line though. And otherwise, pretty stable start. The front two there, 64 and a 7, great start there alongside the 21 on the lead lap.
Look at the 21, he goes to the outside trying to protect both lanes as he goes to the top and then back down to the bottom, jumping in line where he should be with the 14 behind him. So it's kind of kudos to Hallinar for having a good restart. The 7 was helping about, not anymore. Rodney Wofford back down to the inside, and now that Gatorade Chevy's in a tough spot.
Yeah, it certainly is right now, as it's really going to be a tough one on the outside here. They're trying to form something, but it's not really happening just yet. They're still getting settled. Chaburko drops down in front of the 72 there. Outside lane's pretty empty.
The outside lane is there, but there's not much of it to talk about. It's nothing to write home to the parents about. 3 wide as the 72 machine is now dropping back. Pre went all the way from the bottom to the top. I'm not sure if he wants to go to the back or if he's not quite sure how turn number 2 works, but he's going to go way back as he continues to slide on the outside. Maybe a problem for the Napa Chevrolet because it looks like that car does have damage. But the top 8 drivers, in fact, you can toss the 00 and the 78 into the mix. So the top almost 10 drivers, single file. Less than 20 minutes to go from Talladega. Jorgensen starting to look to the outside, won't commit, but him and the 22, a dangerous duo to be together.
Always a dangerous duo to be together. 22 and 88, they're both balancing numbers, so that's always one to consider. Those two, though, are very much big contenders in this series, and well, they're in good contention. Both have got good cars. The cars aren't too damaged. They're in great position now, and they're definitely a threat in terms of working their way up on the outside lane. That's something we could see towards the end of this one. Time remaining just about 19 minutes, I'm seeing, Evans, so it's winding down.
The clock is ticking, but again, I think we're still just outside of that window, so how confident is everybody? And if this is to go green for the next 18 minutes and 45 seconds, then what? Do you come down pit road, or do you stay out and hope that you get a yellow to coast across the start-finish line? Right now, a lot of questions in the air as to what the strategy is going to be to get to the end of this race. 9th place on the back, though, starting to struggle. 2 seconds between Corey Henry and your race leader. That means he's about 1.5 seconds behind the next closest driver in Jimmy Coleman, who, by the way, started 31st position. Tip of the cap to him. He's at a race high P8. So that second group, if you want to be a part of the fight, got to do something quickly.
Yeah, they have to. And if they really want to get themselves up here, it's going to require some probably look at this stage. The gap is fairly big, but to get in line, they can really run this one up towards the front. The top group is starting to split off, so there's a chance it could catch up. It's about 2 seconds. That's a big, big gap to climb, but 98 to 1 and 10 to try to work around this slow group on the inside with Henry and 76 car of Warren, as well as the 61 car there of Field. So they're going to have to try and get their way around them and get in line and push here if they want to join that front group.
And the best way to do it is to get single file, as you said, but with the 98, the 1, the 10 on the outside, and part of that could be Kessler and Piscini have speed, no doubt. Look at both of them are going to be able to clear Corey Henry, so they'll go to 9th and 10th position. Maybe that's them saying, hey, I want to catch up as much as everybody else, but if you guys aren't going to push, we're going to go and do something. But especially because the guys up front are single file, you have to be in a single file line in that second group if you want to catch up.
Very much, and well, they aren't doing it just yet, but the front group there, we've got a bit of movement here. 00 and 78 going to go for something. The 7's looking as well, but not enough people making anything happen here to have an impact. 00 and 78 aren't really up enough alongside with any momentum to make a run here and keep themselves on the outside. And you've got to have early momentum to really make that push to get alongside there, of course, Evan, but Everyone keeps having a look and then dropping back in, so everyone's playing the safe game.
And I think that that's the right call to make. Also, you keep yourself out of trouble more times than not when you're running in that line. Beat a battle up front, the 88 of Jorgensen continues to tease a move to the outside. Chaburko's willing to go with him. Every time the 88 goes up top, the 22 follows, and here comes Rodney Wofford. You want to talk about a power trio on the outside of the racetrack? You've got the 7 and the 22 who are tied for the most wins in series history. You've got the 88 of Mark Jorgensen Jr. Good luck, Glenn Hendrick on the inside.
Yeah, now they're starting to see something happening here towards the front. The 7 of Wofford, the potent move. The 88 smells it coming. He's up on the outside too. So is the 22 as well. That's 3 cars you want to see in a line. The 7, the 88, and the 22 are an award-winning combination of cars here. They will get their way towards the front by hook or by crook, and they're doing just that. Look at this already. Momentum working up. 22 pushing the 88. The 7 getting alongside 21 of Hedrick. This is what they needed to have happen.
The 7 machine trying to get clear. He's half a car length off as he tries to get that little bit extra. And again, Wofford would have raced this season. Wasn't an official points race, though, so it cannot count for the 21st on his career. He has 20 wins in this series. Brandon Chaburko behind the wheel of that number 22 machine. A little bit further back as he drops to the inside. Chaburko is some sort of an issue. At a quarter number 2, that car going to drop to the apron, which is going to note that Chaburko also has 20 career wins. Might have lost the engine or something. That car is slow on the apron.
Yeah, he's really slowing down. I'm going to take a look back and see what happened for him. He was running along well on the outside lane, and I'm just watching to see what happens. But Chaburko, blows his motor. Yes, blown engine for the 22 car. It let go up on the high side there. Managed to find a break in traffic, Evan, get himself down low without getting anybody else involved. Impressive avoidance there by Chaburko, but it won't be his next win tonight, that's for sure.
That's going to take him out of the equation, unfortunately, and would get Wofford an opportunity to try to break that tie. The point that I was trying to make with those 3 before they about wrecked the field is that the 7, the 88, and the 22 being on the outside were the first, third, and second most winning drivers in this series on the outside. If there's any more challenge that you can get if you're Justin Levine to have to push Glenn Hendrick up against that, I'm not sure what it would be. Unfortunately, Chaburko, that car is not able to make it back to pit road. He'll take the tow, and his night is done. That car is gone to the garage. In the blink of an eye, the 22 is out of this race, just like that, with 14 minutes now to go.
14 minutes and not a lot of fuel in these race cars, so things are getting angsty and they're getting very light here on the track. We'll have to see if anyone can manage to make it to the end of this one, or if everyone's going to have to come in for a splash of gas. Based on my calculations, they may have to.
Here comes that second group. Andy Kessler, 2 seconds back. He and Piscini, by the way, were 9th and 10th. They have left that second group. So obviously the second group wasn't doing what they wanted. They're going to go to the third lane. So single-handedly, the 98 and the 1 have pushed together and caught back up to the lead group. The lead group had just recently lost the 22, but we're going to add 2 more cars back into that equation. So once again, it's an 8-car battle for the race lead. Kessler, Piscini, impressive. Do they stick together? No, they're going to end up 3rd and 4th, a lot on the top. Kessler wants to go 3 wide. The 1 is going to go with him wherever he goes, and they may just have to drop in line behind that 64 of Hallinar.
They may indeed, and well, as it stands, the outside lane's going to have to really push here. They've got a chance though to make this one do something if they get up in time, but again, it depends on whether everyone needs to pit. The group having to push so hard, they may have to, because they've really had to use fuel. They've not been able to save much. The lead group have been able to save. Maybe that's why they've caught up. Could be a factor.
Everybody else from that pack still 1.6 seconds back out of 4th, so if somebody else can take the lessons learned by Kessler and company, then they may be able to get 2 cars hooked up there and join the battle up front again. But as it stands now, 8 drivers are battling for the top spot. Actually going to be 7 drivers in the lead pack as we work around a lot of lap traffic. The 6 and the 82. I was going to say the 1, but the 1 machine is not part of this battle up front. He is technically a lap down car. We see this surprisingly a lot, Rachel. He's technically the first driver 1 lap down. If he were to get a caution flag, then he would get his lead lap back courtesy of the lucky dog. So the 1 could be a big factor in this race. Andy Kessler's not complaining about it because he's the only reason Kessler's in this battle. Everybody else, though, I'm sure would prefer if the one would drop back to the inside. I don't expect that to happen, though.
Well, if he gets a lucky dog and waves, then unfortunately he'll be down in about 20th position here, or maybe a little bit lower based on the waving positions. So that could be a trouble for him. But right now, he's just got to focus on trying to race to get his teammates further forward, of course. Teammates with the 7 up front, helping him get towards a race win. If he can't be his, it'll be his teammates as the 7 getting a big push here. Clear of... Oh, contact! Round he goes, down, contact! And that's going to be our caution on lap 77.
And there it is. Caution comes out. Thought we might have been able to get away with it because technically only 2 drivers spun out. But the caution flag does come out. And, well, we've said a couple of times tonight, front's the safe place to be. Brandon Chaburko's not going to do it, and I don't think Ronnie Watford either is going to get a 21st career win because he is involved in the accident. The caution flag is back out. Also, a lot of damage on the 98 of Andy Kessler, which is a tough break for that Aegis entry, who had just made a hell of a charge up front, was just in the wrong place at the wrong time when the 7 came back down.
Yeah, certainly is. The thing I have to think about here, Evan, is some of these guys out front may choose to stay out here. This last caution might be enough to save them a little bit of gas to get them that last couple of laps they're going to have to do here. It's going to be very close, and this caution will leave us maybe 2, 3, 4 laps left. So it's not going to be a long way to race. I had to think about staying out here. I think some people might stay out.
Well, the thing now is you would think with 4 laps or so, which will be about 8 minutes of race clock under caution, that you would save enough fuel to make it to the end. There's 10 minutes left in this race, but that can be deceiving. Next restart's going to be the final restart on the night. And it may be a 1-lap shootout or it may be a 2-lap shootout. We are just now catching up to the pace car.
Yeah, and it could be even less because of that. So this will be tricky to see how it goes through, but it's going to be... This will be tight, and this will be an interesting fight towards the end. I'm really not sure who's going to take this one, but we could see a first-time winner.
We could. Looks like leaders, though, want to come down pit road. The top off on fuel. The top 1, 2, 3 are in. 4th, Piscini get to stay out. 5 is in. 6 stays out. 7 comes down. 8 stays out. So a 50-50 split amongst the drivers up front. These drivers coming down pit road.
Piscini has to
top off on fuel. He has no. Yeah, he has to stay. And he was going to get the wave lucky dog anyways, assuming that there was nobody else on the lead lap. Dan Harrington was, and Harrington stays out too. So I think because Harrington stayed out, the 1 stayed out. 2 is a reactionary move. So the only leader up front would have been the 6. The 6 is also a driver who's a couple of laps down. So looks like the top spot is going to end up in Travis Brown's end. No, Spencer Preet in 72 will be the highest driver on track to stay out. That's on the lead lap.
Yeah, that will be interesting to see if that will pay off for him. As I think it might, but he might get swamped by experience.
That car ain't got a lot of speed in it. That 72's got a lot of right side damage. The driver behind him who stayed out, the 0 to Travis Brown, also has got a lot of damage on it. The 00 machine, Dwayne Cooper, who's going to end up at about 3rd position. He's got a lot of damage. So you're going to have a lot, if these guys stay out and restart, you're going to have a lot of slow cars on the outside. Remember that 3rd and 4th lane that we talked about 52 minutes ago? I think that might be the place to be. I'm not sure if you want to restart behind those guys.
No, right now that's going to be a tricky position to put yourself in, and restarting behind any of these experienced guys will always be a difficult one. And looking at the front, we've got Monster Vice, the highest of the big runners, Hedrick, Jorgensen Jr., Tiller, Flag, Henry, Levine, and this is back towards 10th place. So really shake it up here, and the likes of Piscini, he's in 19th place and back on the lead lap here. So you never know, things could go his way. Rodney Wofford, though, is out of this one. That car is toast. So unfortunately, that'll be his race, I think, for this. Monster Vice is being shown in the lead position. That could be huge for him.
And the 21 Bashidi Hedrick, who was leading, did come down pit road, only stayed in the box for maybe 2 seconds, topped off on fuel, got back out on track. So that goes to prove that they really weren't interested, and kind of goes back to what I was saying under the last caution prior to this, that if you take tires now, there's no way you're taking tires at the next stop. That was simply a splash and go, so they make sure they have enough fuel to the end. So Hedrick, good on fuel. You have to just imagine, we don't know how much fuel he got on, but we have to have faith and say that he's good because he topped off. It would be disastrous if he topped off and didn't put enough in. But let's say 5th on back, they all got fuel, they should be good. The top 4 are the drivers that stayed out. Not only does Travis Brown have damage, does Spencer Preet have damage, does Dwayne Cooper have damage, but they also don't know if they're going to be making it on fuel. Now, Monsivice doesn't know if he's going to make it on fuel, but at least his car is in one piece, and he's going to be the leader. This is big. The driver next to him, damaged. The driver behind him, though, damaged. So the front, all the drivers around him, to his right side, to behind him, and the other driver on the outside of row 2 are going to be slow. So the 54, despite the fact that he'll be restarting in the best spot, Rachel, I don't think is in a good spot because he needs somebody to push him on the restart. And if the guy who restarts in 6th goes up to the top and goes around him, he's not going to be able to do anything without any help. So he better hope that Spencer Preet's car looks faster, or rather drives faster than it looks right now.
He's going to have to hope that Preet can do just that. And Preet, a newcomer to the series, but a strong performance he's had so far. Bit of damage, actually, unfortunately, in that car. That could be a big of an issue for him. But Preet has been surprising. I've enjoyed seeing what he's done so far. He's had a very quick race car, Evan.
He has, and there's been a couple of guys coming to go in tonight. The caution net, and we saw the big wreck at a turn 2 earlier in this race, but I think the caution net really shook up this race the most was that most recent one. Because we had kind of accepted, we had run a couple of laps, seen the guys up front, okay, this is going to be the group that battles for the race win. And now that's out the window. This is going to be a big thing here. The lights on top of the pace car. If they go out, we will have about 3 minutes of race time left. If they do not, that means that we may only have a 1-lap shootout. Lights of the pace car are out right as the clock strikes 5 minutes to go. So this should, rough math, 3-lap shootout.
Might be 4, I think, because we'll cross the line with a couple of seconds left, Evan, which means we'll come back round once again. So it's long enough to make it interesting, that's for sure.
21 drivers on the lead lap. I was just listening in on the radio there. We can hear the driver communication and race control chatting with some of the drivers up front, those with damage, letting them know that, hey, if you get going and that car cannot get up to speed, you need to get out of the way ASAP. But again, I think that if that is the case, it's going to be done at that point. Again, the 01, the 72, and the 00, they look like they're going to be slow because they have damage. Now, great thing about Daytona is the draft, and they could win this race. Who knows, Rachel? But I'm just saying, those cars look pretty beat up. They came from the back by staying out, and they don't know if they're good on fuel. And I don't think that Hedrick's necessarily in a good spot because, again, he's behind 2 of those cars. I think Mark Jorgensen Jr. and the 88 Chevrolet is in the best spot right now.
Yeah, the low side guys are boxed in. I think the best person in terms of position and chances here of the stay outs is Brandon Cruz Monsivice, but the 01, the 72, the 00, that's risky, and the 71 is boxed in. Jorgensen Jr. and the 10 of Flag are in the best spot, as is the 14 of Levine. We'll see this time by. Could this be our last restart? Well, it will be the last one, but who will win?
How many laps do we get, and do we make it to the checkered flag under green flag conditions? The pace car going to drop down. Just over 3 minutes left to go from the Talladega Superspeedway. Brandon Cruz Monsivice and Travis Brown going to line up side by side on the front row. Brown looking for his first career win. Monsivice in search of a second. Green flag flies. We're back underway.
Big bunch of restart there as the 72 give a good punt to the 54 to get him going. The 01 looked like he was creeping to try and lead that restart actually and trying to get ahead of the leader, but he didn't quite manage it. Car's getting up to speed though, no one really slow at this stage, but we'll see how they are when they actually get up to speed. That will be critical, of course. Tiller not quite leaving a gap there for the 88 as the 00 wants to drop down and away from this. Could that free up the 88 and the 10? It looks like it might. They both drop down ahead of Tiller. No, one pulls back out again. No! Nearly hooks him. That was a big
there goes the double O. Caution to fly. Monsivice in front of the field as the clock comes to 2 minutes and 24 seconds to go. There is not going to be enough time to restart this race, and Brandon Cruz Monsivice is going to get a second career win in the LSRTV Chevrolet. We'll take a second look at the problems. Again, they started up front. We were single file down the back straightaway, and then that second lane popped up. The 00 came up, tried to take the momentum away from the outside. We've seen that so many times tonight, Rachel, but he wasn't clear. And when he came up just across the nose of Jorgensen, both of those cars got out of shape. The double O wasn't able to hang on. He collects Henry Tiller, who has a massive lick and a big wreck in turn 3.
Yeah, absolutely. Dwayne Cooper there. He was up high, then he went down low with the 01, and then he tried to come back up a second time, and he wasn't clear. He hooked the 88. 88 survived just, but he tapped Rod Flagg, who killed the 72, and Harry Tiller just went flying there, and that killed most of our field. But again, people moving up when they're not clear, that really caused that one kind of disappointing to end it this way.
Pace car is doing about 135 miles an hour. It was in turn 2, so it took these guys a little bit of time to catch up to the pace car, but they will this time by. The clock going to strike 1 minute to go, so this may still only be 2 laps to go left in this race. Depending on when when the white flag does come out, oftentimes it has to wait till we get inside of the final 30 seconds, and looks like we're going to cross the line with just a little bit more than that to go. We'll let you know, though, and you'll see it at the top of your screen when the white flag is displayed in this race. But, you know, for the 54 months of ice, it was quite the night. Started way back in 26th position. The last time he won a race was about 8 months ago, and it was at Daytona International Speedway. So if he could hang on for this one, it would give him a win in this series at both of the tracks on the calendar.
Certainly would, and not perhaps the way he'd won it, but you know what, there is no wrong way to get a win. This was a great one for him, and you made the right strategy call in this one, and that's a very brave decision at this sort of stage of the race. But you kind of got to know, though, that staying out here would be a great opportunity. There would damage cars and stay out, trying to advance their position, and the lead lap guys, the big fast cars, would fight so hard. You knew there'd be probably something, or they'd bottle themselves up, so it's worth the risk, and it paid off.
And for the 54, the way all of this went down is just about as good as you could have ever hoped for, because we didn't know that he was going to be good on fuel. So an ideal situation would be to go green, maintain the race lead, and then immediately take a caution flag so he could cruise his way to the end and to be able to conserve whatever he has on board. Still not guaranteed that he makes it to the end. Whenever fuel is a question, you never know. But for Bonsivice, the white flag has been in the air, and he's going to come to take it this time to quarter 4. Again, uncontested behind Tim Spencer-Preet is second. Glenn Hendrick is in the number 3 spot. We hope to chat with those top finishers in just a moment after we go to a break and come back. That'll be part of our LSRTV post-race show that we hope you stick around for just a couple of extra minutes. But how about Brandon Cruz Bonsivice starting to heat up as he comes into the Season 15 championship, and he, with this one, is now going to be a 2-time winner in the Superspeedway Cup Series. Checkered flag tonight from Talladega. Career win number 2. Bonsivice is your winner tonight from Dega.
Really impressive one there for Brandon Cruz Bonsivice. Really impressed with how well he's done in this so far. It's been really motivational to see him get this one. I've long been a supporter of his, and it's nice to see him get one, Evan. This is important for him. It'll be a big motivational one for him this season, and he's in the chase. Brandon is in the chase. He'll be so happy when we interview him.
Yeah, the 54 machine came by the start-finish line there, and he's going to take the win in this one, as the pace car now going to bring him back down around one more time. But for the 54 team, again, just as it was for the driver who came into tonight leading the championship standings in Jason Oatman's, this win is going to mean that Brandon Cruz Bonsivice is into the playoffs. With that win, he is guaranteed a spot on that playoff grid.
Yeah, and that's huge. That is a big weight off his shoulders. He can race now and have fun. Like we said with Altman's, he can go out there and he can kick some ass, and he can see what he can do on this racetrack and really push himself as a driver, and there's no pressure anymore. That's going to be great for season feelings.
So we'll take this opportunity to step aside, and when we come back to the Talladega Superspeedway, we'll be in Gatorade Victory Lane with your race winner tonight. Brandon Cruz Bonsivice, career win number 2, his first from Talladega. We hope you stick around. We'll be back in just a moment. From Talladega, you're watching LSRTV's continuing coverage of the Superspeedway Cup Series on iRacing Live.
really enjoy dirt racing. Feels good to get in the car, and we have great cars and engines and things at KKR, so it's nice to drive a fast sprint car.
Couple of separate lines developing, three wide action on a turn two. Craig Kinzer, Casey Kane, and Garrett Pittman going at it.
I think the differences between NASCAR and the sprint races on dirt is just a much different mindset. The way you drive your cars, the setup, the feel you're looking for. I think one of the hardest things to tell as a fan is when you're watching a race, whether it's a NASCAR race, a dirt race, is just what's really going on in the car. With iRacing, you can get the way that the track's changing, which they've done a great job in how the track changes throughout the night or throughout the race, just to try to capture it and let the fans play it and realize, like, man, there's actually a lot going on, and you can't always see that when you watch a race. So I think it's pretty neat. It's enjoyable for me, but at the end of the day, it's actually much of a simulation, and there's a lot of ways that you can learn from that. And early on, it was neat to look at the Cup tracks that I was going to, places that I had never been. So I think it kind of gives you a head start leading into a weekend. It's pretty real life, and that's pretty neat.
Welcome back live to Lincoln, Alabama's Talladega Superspeedway for the LSRTV post-race show. The second race of this Superspeedway Cup Series Season 15 championship is drawn to a close. We've got our second different winner that is heading to the playoffs, and we'll go trackside with him in just a moment. First, we'll take a look at top to bottom at tonight's LSRTV full race results. Brandon Cruz Monsivice gets the win after starting way back in 26th position, the second on his career. Rookie Spencer Preet coming up at a number 2 spot, and Glenn Hedrick got around 27 drivers to go from the back to the front, at least towards the front, to come home in third tonight. We'll be trackside with all of them in a second. Travis Brown, great result for another rookie to come home in a 4th position tonight, and Corey Henry inside of the top 5. Scott Warren comes home in 6th position. Chris Pizzini is 7th. Sean McCarrick is 8th, with Alex Hallinar in 9th, and Daniel Holloway in 10th.
11th place today with a disappointing result for him. Rodney Warford, Dan Harrington, last car on the lead lap in 12th place. Behind them, Justin Devine, Jimmy Coleman, Mike Field, Mark Jorgensen Jr. with a disappointing position in 16th, 2 laps down. Dwayne Cooper, Harry Teller, Rod Flagg, and Raven Earl second in 20th.
And the rest of these drivers out of this race by the time it was all said and done. But 21st, Gary Champion, Andy Kessler, 22nd, Brandon Chaverko, 23rd, with Victor Bartlett in 24th, and Tom Dryerling in 25th. Tommy Hall, Jared Haggerty, Ramon Evans, Larry Camp, Paul Servant through with the 30th spot, and then Seth the Merchant in 31st and Dana Osborne in 32nd as a look top to bottom at your LSRTV full race results. But the man of the night, the driver of the 54 machine, Brandon Cruz Monsivice, is your winner from the Talladega Superspeedway, and we are trackside with the driver of the 54 Chevrolet. Brandon, congratulations on the win. You got one at Daytona. Now you've got one at Talladega.
Whew, man, I'm happy about that. First ever timed race victory. I mean, there's only one ever first time event, and there's only one ever first time winner. So, man, I'm so happy to be that. I'm ecstatic right now. That was a fun race, and it was very different. I mean, it was action packed. Got real lucky in some spots, but wow, that was awesome.
I think a little bit of luck never hurts somebody at a plate track every now and again, and you guys found yourself in a good position. A lot of people pitted on not the caution that ended this race, but the caution before that. You stayed out to assume the race lead. Talk us through that call.
Man, I am honestly so baffled by that decision. I don't understand why everyone went into pit. I really don't, because I expected everyone to stay out because I knew it would end the way it did, and I knew the cautions here are roughly 8 minutes. That's enough time to save enough fuel. I expected when I came around 4 to see everyone staying out, but when I saw everyone going inside or into the pit lane, I was like, is this really happening? And then I was saving fuel, so I had to pass Travis and Spencer, and I was like, whoa, I got the lead. Are you serious? This is amazing. Why did they go in? So I got real lucky on that. I doubt that'll ever happen again. I'm sure next time a lot of people will stay out, but that's what won the race. Just, I can't believe everyone went in the pits. That's nuts.
The seas parted for you, and you went right up to the front, and then were able to defend it on that light race restart. Obviously, talking about the difference, that the biggest change that this season is going to be over those prior is the fact that we have time. We were still counting laps to the end of the stages, but obviously time at the end kind of difficult for you guys to tell how many laps you're going to be able to get off for the restart. Was that at all challenging for you behind the wheel, trying to keep track of that?
Honestly, with me seeing the time, I know a lap around here is roughly 52 seconds, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around there. So I know every minute's roughly a lap, maybe 2 laps per minute. So I just look at it like if there's 20 minutes left, we have roughly maybe 23 laps left. That's how I was looking at it the whole time.
You guys get this win. I know it's got to be big for you for the fact that obviously you get the first win, as you noted, in a timed event. You get your first win at Talladega, a second on your career. So hopefully a good stepping stone for you guys to start to crank some of these things out. But you're in the playoffs, and you did it on week 2.
Oh, I'm super happy about that. I just want to point out that there's 54 people watching the broadcast right now. Thanks for watching. 54 is my number. 54 is the viewers. Oh, now it's 56. But I mean, that's really cool being in the chase this early. I told you a couple weeks ago when we were doing the duels, you have to be aggressive in this series to get wins, and that's what I've been these last 2 weeks. I've tried to been up front the whole time. Outside line is dead. I don't care who you are. No one wants to work with me up there. But I'm going to be aggressive as I can. I want to win a championship here. I've been here 3-4 seasons now, and I want to get wins. I want to win championships, and you got to be aggressive to do that. And I've done that these last couple weeks, so hopefully we can continue that. And just being aggressive is the secret to these timed events.
Well, the way to win a championship is to have a lot of tonights, because you guys were up there, you got points in the end of the stage, you're up there and you get the win at the end of it, so you should get the most points out of anybody outside of tonight. You get yourself locked into the playoffs. So what's next? We've got 11 races until the playoffs begin. It's a lot of time. I know that you would like to add a lot of wins to that category in the meantime. So the fact that you don't have to worry about points racing, which I know can get so frustrating when you're on that cut line, 2-3 races to go. If somebody wins, it can kick you out and so on and so forth. What is the plan for you guys for the next 11 weeks or so with this win? How does maybe the driving style change at all? What would you like to learn in this new format that you think will help you out come the time that those playoffs actually begin?
Well, at this point, in my opinion, I just got to make sure I don't get suspended or anything from the league. So I can't be doing entirely stupid stuff, but I just want to get as many playoff points as I can. That means winning stages and possibly getting more wins. So that's what I'm looking for right now. We got the win. We're in the playoffs. I just got to make sure I stay above the top 30 in points, I believe, and hopefully we don't get like a bajillion winners and it don't throw me out. But other than that, just gonna race aggressive, try and get as many playoff points as possible. That's the game plan from here on out, and just looking forward to the chase at this point.
Our winner from 1 week ago, Jason Altmans, was not here tonight, so you have the most points out of anybody overall, and you guys have the win, so you're at the top of the playoff grid after 2 weeks. And though there's a long way to go, but this race means a lot for you guys. Before we let you take off and get out of here and do some celebrating, Brandon, the sponsors, the shout-outs, who makes it happen for you in that Chevy?
Well, we got to thank the fans that tune in to LSRTV every night. They're the ones that keep us afloat, iRacing afloat, the whole iRace community. Ty Majeski's out there representing us as someone who's come from iRacing this weekend in Iowa. So I just really want to thank the community, the viewers, LSRTV. You guys are the voice of sim racing for a reason. You guys put on the best darn show out there for the fans, best production and everything. Just all the fans out there in the community and all that. Thank you very much for tuning in and watching the race. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully you guys tune back in the rest of the seasons and check out all the other series that LSR broadcasts. I mean, they're all great. They're all fun to watch. So thank you for everyone watching.
And the best darn car on track tonight was that of the 54. Brandon Cruz-Monsiváis is your winner from Talladega. Brandon, thanks for sticking around and chatting with us. Congratulations on the win. Number 2 of, who knows, maybe a couple this season. We'll let you get out of here, but hopefully we'll chat many a time as this championship works on.
Yeah, I sure hope so. Thanks a lot. Thanks, guys.
So Brandon Cruz-Monsiváis went on the season to the top of the playoff grid. Spencer Preet, one of the rookies in the season, or rather in this series this season, comes home in second position, and a series veteran in Glenn Hedrick comes home in third. Rachel trackside with both of those drivers, first with the driver who comes home in second, the 72.
Yeah, certainly am. That's Spencer Preet. Spencer, tough race today, but fantastic result for what is a rookie to the series. Second place today, great points for you. How's the team feeling?
Oh man, I have never been so excited over a second place finish ever. I mean, I would never say like I was struggling at any point today, but there was just I just never seemed to be able to pass anybody when I was in the big pack at all in any of the like runs we had today. I've always felt like I was stuck behind a line of 2 cars, and if it wasn't a line of cars 2x2, it was just a single file line that wasn't going anywhere. So finally I started kind of working my way up bit by bit, and I had something happen on pit road where I guess someone was coming into their stall as I was exiting pit road, and they tore down the whole right side of my car. I mean, really nobody's fault there. It's just one of those things. And it kind of took off a lot of my speed there at the end. And me and Travis, we just kind of were like, if a yellow comes out here, this was with about like 8 minutes left. We're like, if a yellow comes out, we're just going to stay out. There's only going to be so much left, and maybe we'll get another yellow and we'll luck into a great finish. And that's exactly what happened. So, there's no way that this car should have been able to finish in second place. That's all I know.
Well, it did, and you did, and it was a great one. Who makes it work for you on the 72 team?
Well, I gotta thank my man Travis, our other teammate, Michael Cozy Jr. is not here tonight. He's I guess he's in Pocono. So gotta thank Travis because he was working with me most of the night and helping me out on that last strategy call. And big thanks to Rod for letting me be here. And, this is my first season, so thanks for him and putting this on.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for that one, and congratulations with second place today, Spencer Preet.
Thank you.
Next up, I believe we have the third or fourth place runner today. We don't actually have anyone.
Looking for him, I can't
back
find
to you,
him.
Evan.
Yeah, the 21 is not here, and he had a long night. He didn't get a time down in practice, so he was scored 32nd in that classification. Didn't get a time down in qualifying, so had to start way back in 30th. So Hedrick had a long night to challenge his way up to third position. So although we're unable to catch up with him, he's one of the drivers who was able to get around those cars who had stayed out, pick up a couple of spots. So congratulations to the driver of the number 21 machine on his good finish tonight. So that wraps up the first regular format race on the season. This is what the bulk of this championship is going to consist of, Rachel. We ended up with about 85 laps completed when it was all said and done, and the 100-minute timer ran out to 0. And I kind of like the new format. It's unconventional for oval racing to be timed, and there are going to be events on the season, special events that are based on laps. But I kind of like having to be up on my toes and have to adjust to something new, and I think it's quite the challenge for the drivers. That'll be fun to see how it plays out as the season continues.
Certainly will be, and I'm really looking forward to see how this season goes. So far, set to be a really exciting one. They'll get used to the format. So will we. We know the times. This is going to be an exciting twist on things.
That does it here tonight from Talladega. That also does it for us for the week here on iRacing Live. But don't worry, we hope that you're with us next week, including on Friday evening. But we've got a whole kinds of series coming up with you. You can take a look at our full broadcast schedule on our website at www.livesimracing.com. And a surefire way to make sure you don't miss any of our broadcasts is 3 steps. 1, make sure you subscribe to us right here on youtube.com/C/LSRTV, but also by keeping up to date with us on social media. And that means following us on Twitter at LSRTV and liking us on Facebook at facebook.com/LSRTV official. So until next time, on behalf of the entire team at Live Sim Racing LLC and LSRTV, for the folks behind the scenes, for DJ Lyon, and for the broadcast crew tonight, for myself, Evan Pasoko, Rachel Whiteford, and our producer, Cisco Scaramuzza, I want to congratulate Brandon Cruz-Monsivais, a 2-time winner in his career in the Superspeedway Cup Series, and he adds his name to the playoff grid just 2 weeks in. This series is going to return next Friday, as it will all season long, right here on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing. Until next time, good night.